Welcome to Midwest Paranormal Presents Paranormal Soup. I'm your host, Jason Bland, and tonight our guest is psychic Gary Williams. We're going to be taking phone calls later in the show. I already have somebody waiting on hold now, so the phone lines will fill up tonight, I'm sure. Whoever's waiting on the phone, you're going to have to wait till after the World Wide Web Weird, so you can hang up and call back. It's up to you, but you can hang in there, first caller. But we will be taking phone calls after the World Wide Web Weird tonight with our guest, Gary Williams. Yes, he's going to be doing readings with you. We are going to talk, so we'll take phone calls a little bit into the interview. Let me talk to Gary, because he's an interesting man. I've been reading his book, A Foreseeable Future, Mysteries of Precognition. This is a subject that I've had all these different paranormal experiences, but the one I probably had the most in my life is precognition. Dreams, pretty much, that I've had where I've seen the future to the exact detail. And it's always made me wonder, is life predestined? I mean, how do you see something, that could, of your future? If you see your future, can't you change it? I don't know. These are the things I've always wondered about with these things. I'm a total believer in precognition. Most common paranormal experience I've had is precognition. So we'll talk about that tonight. And like I said, your phone calls in for your mini reading. We will be taking those calls later in the show. All right, guys, let's go ahead and get rolling on into it. Welcome to another night of Paranormal Soup. As I said before, I'm your host, Jason Bland. Tonight's guest is Gary Williams. We will be taking phone. I had somebody call in right as we started. Whoever called in, you call back later. After the World Wide Web Weird, because we do have some weird stuff to talk about tonight. But I got my lovely co-host with me tonight, Jamie D. Let me bring that screen up here. How you doing tonight, Jamie?
I'm doing well, and I'm very excited about the topic tonight.
Yeah, like I said, precognition is the most common, pretty much. I mean, I saw the green floating head. I've talked about that, but all the different dreams I've had that have come exactly true. Sometimes that's just stupid stuff that I dream and I see the exact thing I dreamed. Sometimes it's serious stuff that's happened, a little bit too personal stuff sometimes for me to even talk about on air, but I'm a total believer in precognition, so I'm excited. I've been reading his book, A Foreseeable Future, Mysteries of Precognition. Highly recommend it. Gary really is excited, I know, to come on and do readings tonight, take your phone calls, so we'll have that when he comes on. He's in Spain, actually, so it's going to be early morning for him, but I know he's excited to do the readings, but that'll be after the World Wide Web of Weird. Rob, I was hoping he was going to be here. We had technical problems. I don't know what's going on. Hopefully Rob might join us later to join the discussion, but I'll be running the World Wide Web of Weird, so bear with me. I'm a little rusty at it, but I think I can handle it. But we do have some weird tonight, so we want to go ahead and roll into that. So let's go ahead and roll into the World Wide Web of Weird. Tonight on the World Wide Web of Weird, we're going to start out with probably one of the most viral things I'm seeing going on, especially in the UFO community, is the U.S. Navy has drafted new UFO reporting guidelines. They're actually maybe starting to take this seriously. Is this part of the disclosure project that we've been talking about quite a bit on the World Wide Web of Weird? For those listening on Paranormal Soup's 24/7 radio network, and yes, we do have a 24/7 radio network where you can hear the show, and you can hear the show when we're off air. All the reruns play on there. Check it out. But if you're listening, we are also a webcast. You can watch us on YouTube or on Facebook Live at our page, Midwest Paranormal Presents Paranormal Soup, or on YouTube under Paranormal Soup or Jason Bland. We do have some videos tonight. Otherwise, I will try to narrate as best as possible. All right, so this first one is U.S. Navy drafts new UFO reporting guidelines. I got this from Unexplained Mysteries. I like them because they have short articles. It makes it good for radio. So recently it emerged that between 2007 and 2012, the Pentagon had been involved in a secretive $22 million project known as Advanced Aviation Threat Identification Program, which was set up to investigate credible sightings of unidentified objects over U.S. airspace. Among these were reported by U.S. military pilots of unknown objects traveling at impossible speeds without any visible means of propulsion or hovering without any apparent means of lift. Now it appears as though the process of reporting a UFO is about to become a little bit easier as evidence of the upcoming introduction of a new formal reporting process. There have been a number of reports on unauthorized or unidentified aircraft entering various military-controlled range as designated airspace in recent years, a spokesman told Politico. For the safety and security concerns, the Navy and the U.S. Air Force take these reports very seriously and investigate each and every report. As part of this effort, the Navy is updating and formalizing the process by which reports of any such suspected incursions can be made of cognizant authorities. A new message to the fleet that will detail the steps of reporting is in this draft. Exactly what this means for the investigation of a military UFO sightings remains unclear, but at least more pilots will be likely to come forward if they've seen something. That's the main thing. Pilots don't want to have their psychology judged. They have to be mentally fit to be up flying these $1 million planes. They don't want to be like, oh yeah, I saw a UFO and be judged about that. But now it seems like it's a little bit more open. But they do report. I know they have to report what they see up there. So and it makes it maybe a little bit easier. Moving on, Article 2. And, we talked about the TR-3B and the triangle UFOs and what has our military back engineered. I thought this was really interesting. This comes from Singular14.com. U.S. Navy patents triangular craft powered by quantum vacuum plasma. A recently patent filed by the U.S. Secretary of the Navy has approved by the United States Patent and Trademark Office shows a schematics diagram for a craft powered by quantum vacuum plasma. According to the patent summary, the present invention is directed to a craft using an internal mass reduction device. The craft includes an inner resonant cavity wall, an outer resonant cavity, and a microwave emitter. The outer resonant cavity wall and the inner resonant cavity wall form a resonant cavity. The microwave emitter creates high-frequency electromagnetic waves throughout the resonant cavity, causing an outer resonant cavity wall to vibrate. A lot of science mumbo-jumbo. And accelerated mode create a local polarized vacuum outside the outer resonant cavity wall. This kind of reminds me a little bit of what they were talking about with the EM drive. I think sounds very similar. I'm not a scientist, so I don't know, or a physicist or engineer, but it sounds very similar to the EM drive they've talked about for many years. It's a feature of the present invention to provide a craft using an internal mass reduction device that can travel at extreme speeds. The craft would generate high-energy electromagnetic fields, interact strongly with vacuum energy state. This interaction would give rise to emergent physical phenomena based on a mechanism of transfer of vibrational energies. Okay. According to the patent, the transfer of vibrational energy further induces local fluctuations adjacent to quantum fields, which permeate space-time. Matter, energy, and space-time are all emergent constructs which arise out of fundamental frameworks that is a vacuum energy state. Wow, that's a lot. Everybody says they see the TR3B. This patent, I didn't see. I'm not used to wearing the World Wide Web of Weird. Here it is. I'm not even showing it. I am getting rusty on this. Let's pull this up. This is the patent here. I mean, mostly there looks like a triangle. I mean, they're patenting it now, but how long have they had it? Is my question. Let's move on. Number 3, the World Wide Web, and this time I promise to change the picture to the right one. This is a photograph here. This comes from UFOsightIngspot.com. Bright UFO takes off from Mount Shasta, California. And I've heard so many stories about alien bases in Mount Shasta, and so many. I mean, there's New Age groups that go there and kind of worship that mountain as some kind of spiritual place. This is a photographer. When visiting with mom, and this is from the photographer, when visiting with my mom in Mount Shasta on April 17th, I was out late looking to take a nighttime picture of Mount Shasta. I was taking the picture of the mountain. I called my son, who was in our vehicle parked nearby waiting for me, and asked him if this was my imagination or was that just a star above Mount Shasta moving. He wasn't sure, but anyway, when I got home to my mom's and uploaded the pictures, I noticed that one of the pictures, the star I thought it was moving earlier, was hovering over the mountain just below and to the right as you look at the picture. There's a gray cigar-shaped object. Something on the side is reaching up towards the star. The picture was taken on 10:30 p.m. with 20-second shutter speed. The very next picture is a minute later at 10:31. The star had taken off from the mountain, left at a light trail, and also the object in the mountain was no longer there. My son and I were curious to see if we could get pictures of it the next night, and around the same time, we were able to get even more shots that baffled us of the star or whatever it is because of the strange lights and trails we captured around it. It's got a MUFON case number 99821. It looks like something. I mean, it looks like it could be a flare. I don't know, but it looks bigger than that compared to the mountain. It looks like it's way too big to be a flare, actually, now that I think about it, how big that mountain is. It's hard to say, but something odd. I know people have reported seeing UFOs around Mount Shasta for years, and maybe there is a base there, but I don't know. But whatever was flying out of there, you think they'd be more stealthy than that. I don't know. Okay, let's move on. All right. This one I don't know about. This is number 4 in the World Wide Web of Weird. This is a video here. Oh, it's like switching over on its own. It's like it knew I was going to get to this. Here we go. All right, so I don't know if people have seen this. I'm going to pause it here a second. This comes from the Anomalian.com. It sits on my bed. A man filmed a paranormal phenomenon in his bedroom. Recently on Twitter, simultaneously on Reddit websites, an unusual video appeared that was posted by a young girl. According to her, the video was filmed on a video surveillance camera in her father's bedroom. At night, her father began to feel that someone was playing around with his bedding. Also, it seemed to him that something was sitting on his bed. Apparently, there was no pets in the house, so this man became frightened and put a camera in his bedroom. After he looked at the footage, he definitely saw something paranormal there. First, someone with a force pulls the covers to the left side and then sneaks under in the right side. But the worst happens at the end when the left side of the left side for a couple seconds. You can see a silhouette similar to a human, and this is not the awakened father of the girl, but something else, since the silhouette moves to the right and suddenly disappears. Both the man and his daughter were shocked by the camera finding the night. So let's go ahead and just watch this here. See, he's turning over. They're saying this is somebody getting into bed with him, but it looks like it's just him. Like, that's his feet. But this here is what they say. This to the left of the video is somebody getting into bed with him. I don't know. You almost do see something like disappear right here.
It was his like foot to the side, like stretching out or something.
I know it's something weird here that happens. Either he's getting up or there is something here going on. Like up, I don't know if people can see my little arrow pointing up here to the left
your
corner.
arrow right there.
Yeah, you see how he gets up. Either he's getting up, or there's something there, but it does look like something like disappears there, or he's just falling over.
But what if that's like his elbow or a knee, and under the covers, just the way it's looking like it's moving?
Yeah, I don't know. I've seen some creepy bedroom footage we've showed on the World Wide Web of Weird that definitely is a lot more, I think, unexplainable compared to this. I don't know.
Yeah.
There's something at the very end there. I'm going to get back to that again one more time. Because that looks like a foot to me. Kicking out. I don't know. But I think he sits up, rolls over, and his foot kicks out.
Yeah.
But I don't know. He's at a weird angle if he is. I don't know. It's hard to say. But I saw it was going around. I don't know. It is. I've had the ghost in the bed experience. It's not fun. Not fun at all. All right. Let's move out of that. Let's move on to number 5 in the World Wide Web of Weird here. Getting used to doing this. All right, hold on. This one I really like a lot. Number 5 here from the dailystar.co, and I've seen this over a lot of places here. A couple freak out after watching footage of their stay in the infamous haunted house. A married couple were left feeling chilled to the bone after filming a trio of ghost feet walking past them in a creepy building. This is Myrtles Plantation. I love how the article, creepy building. It's a very famous haunted location. I'm sure a lot of my viewers know. Brandon and Taryn Hunt booked a weekend away in one of America's most haunted houses, Myrtles Plantation in Louisiana, United States. When they arrived, they were greeted with terrified guests about to leave who spoke of their own chilling encounters. So they decided to film their overnight stay in case they experienced similar incidents, and what they captured is truly bizarre. Video begins by showing the dimly lit hallway sporting an old brown-colored interior. As the camera pans around, movement can be spotted at the base of the stair before seemingly vanishing into thin air. 2 sets of feet appear to be dressed in long white tube socks and black buckled shoes. A third pair, I don't know if I see that much detail. A third pair seemingly pauses as if looking directly at the camera before they appear to turn away. All right, let's go ahead and we'll launch this footage here. You see?
I thought I saw. Yeah, at the bottom of the stairs.
Yeah, you do see this. I can see the tube socks. It's weird. That is really weird. I mean, you see, it looks like legs. It looks like ghost legs to me. I don't know how it could be reflection or misinterpretation. It looks like ghost legs and ghost feet to me. I mean, our showing it here probably doesn't do it justice. Go check this out at dailystar.co.uk for yourself and see it's on YouTube. Myrtles Plantation Ghost Feet. You'll find the video. It's pretty interesting to me. All right, let's see. I don't know. I want to see that one more time. I think this is really good. Like, either somebody's pulling our leg or this is a real deal. I really think they got something here. I think this is one of the, there's I don't know. I mean, it's Myrtles Plantation. It's one of the most famous haunted places in America for a reason, I guess. It does look like they were paused there. Did you see that? Like they were, like he noticed them. Like, look, watch, Jamie. Like you see I'm going to back it up. Watch, like right at the stairs. Like he's paused and then he's like, oh, whoops, I better go. It's like 2 sets of legs.
And they
actually
start to walk away. Like he stopped and
And
then
it's two sets. You see, it's like two sets of legs. One set goes, there's like one pause there, and then it's pause, it walks, and then there's another walk. There's two like little kids with the tube socks. That's what I picture.
exactly.
Because look how small
Like
they are too. Wow, that's cool.
that's an interesting one.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that one a lot. Okay, let's move on. All right, where are we? We're number 6 of the World Wide Web of Weird. Here we go. Number 6 here. I got to do this here. All right, so my kid wanted me to do this story. My kids have a fascination with sharks, and I showed him this one. He's like, "Are you going to do this one? Are you going to do this one?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'll do this one." All right, so number 6. I got this from Yahoo News. I saw a few different articles, but I just went to Yahoo. Monster great white shark chokes to death on giant sea turtle. My kid absolutely loves this story. Incredible pictures show a monster shark, which appears to have choked to death on a giant sea turtle when it bit off more than it could chew. Bump, bump. Fisherman Greg Vela posted the pictures of the dead great white shark on Facebook on Friday, whose eyes were apparently bigger than its stomach. The grim pictures show the lifeless body of the shark with a turtle trapped in its blood-covered teeth. And for people listening, I mean, it's exactly as it says. I mean, it's literally got a turtle stuck in its mouth. The shark, which the fisherman said weighed 2,000 kilograms, was found caught up in a netting in the Pacific Ocean off of Japan. The discovery came after Mr. Vela heard a chatter on the radio about a great white shark swimming around with a giant sea turtle in its mouth. People started to joke about it, so I did not pay it any more attention. The next day, it was found dead near the bait receivers, tangled in some netting. The captains and I interviewed who saw the mighty shark that day before said it looked close to death as it could not dislodge the giant turtle. The commercial guys were bummed as the white shark do not bother their commercial fishing and most certainly do bother the things that eat our catch. After sharing the grisly picture, Mr. Villa said the phone was blowing up with notifications. I mean, I guess animals can choke to death too. I mean, I don't know what, they're eating machines. They say they'll eat about anything that comes across their path, At least that's what the movies say. I don't know. I've watched Jaws a billion times, especially since my kids discovered their love for Jaws and sharks, and yeah, they just want to see me people. But my son wanted me to do this one on the World Wide Web Weird. He loved this story, and I had to share it. But it's pretty cool. I don't know. I mean, I never knew a shark could choke to death, but I guess it can. Poor guy. At least it wasn't garbage. You usually hear these things wash up or found dead because they got garbage in their mouth. That's the most depressing thing because we're there's industrial countries, not ours as much as other countries in the world that are just flooding the oceans with just garbage and killing the sea life. So you always get these stories of these things washing up because they got plastic in their stomachs and it's just awful. But this one, just too much. Big turtle. All right, let's move on to the last one, the World Wide Web of Weird. This one might be a little controversial. I've been seeing all this stuff about the Satanic Church for years. And I'm agnostic, but I believe there's a God. I believe in a God, and I don't know. Why people go for Satanism boggles my mind. But this satanic group in particular, the Satanic Temple, claims they do it because they just don't believe in Christianity and want it out of our life and our government. And it's more of a statement. But they are actually now a tax-exempt church. Satanic Temple designated as a church given tax-exempt status by the IRS. Satanism is here to stay, is the Fox News article. Because you know how Fox News loves to just scare people. All right. Satanic Temple is now considered a church by Internal Revenue Service and can apply for faith-based grants. This is what I don't like. That means they get government money, too. Is that what they mean? They're going to get government money? I know freedom of religion and all that, but I mean, come on. A non-theistic Salem, Mass-based satanic organization said it was pleased Thursday to receive the tax-exempt status after years of advocating for churches to lose theirs. So they wanted the churches to lose their tax-exempt status. But hey, if they can't, if you can't beat them, join them, right? The temple was founded to react and to restrict Christianity in public life and claims it does not worship the devil as depicted in the Bible, but advocates for the separation of church and state. Well, once you become like the advocation for church and state organization, not just go right out there for Satanism. You might have a better conversation with the Christians about like, hey, I respect your religion, you can have it, but I just don't want it in my government or in my schools. The Satanism is here to stay. Lucien Greaves, I'm sure that's his real name, a spokesman for the Satanic Temple, said in a statement, adding the status should lay to rest any suspicion that we don't meet the qualifications for a true religious organization. You sound more like an organization just wants to make sure Christianity stays out of stuff, but you decided to go with the full satanic thing. And have you seen some of these people a part of the Satanic Temple? I mean, they look like they're in it more than just a statement against Christianity. Some of them are really into it. I don't know. It seems like you're going to attract people that are really into it. The IRS code classified it as a church or convention or association of churches, and under the cause area of the website is listed as Christian. The group says the designation will help in its religious discrimination legal cases. The Satanic Temple started at the after-school Satan clubs in reaction to Christian after-school programs like the Good News Club. Last year, it placed a statue. We've had this in the World Wide Web of Weird goat-headed creature Bathmot in Arkansas state capitol to call for the removal of the Ten Commandments. I mean, seriously, I mean. Do you join Satanism like just as like, oh yeah, I'm a Satanist, but I really don't believe in God? I've heard that, that they're really atheists. They don't believe in God or any of it. But, it's like people who form the Church of the Great Spaghetti Monster Sky. At least they went to the Spaghetti Monster Sky, not like the all evil Satan. We're Satanists because we don't believe in. I don't buy it. I think you can have some members who do believe in Satan. I'm just guessing. You probably have some people that really do buy into it. So I don't know. I mean, I'm all for freedom of religion. Everybody should have their freedom of religion, but I really don't want to walk down the street and say, "Hey, there's a statue of Bathmot sitting there." Just saying that it creeps me out. I'm sorry. I'm agnostic. I believe in everybody should have the right to practice their religion freely, and I think religion can be really interesting, great, and can be really bad too. But Satanism kind of like set out to be bad. I don't know. I'm probably going to get some nasty. If you want to email me, and if you're a Satanist, I'm sure to talk. I don't judge you. Maybe I do. I don't know. You can email me at paranormalsoupjbland@gmail.com and share your thoughts. But that's it for the World Wide Web of Weird. We got our guest, Gary Williams. He's a psychic tonight. We're going to be taking readings after the commercial break. Just when you call in, just remember, hang in there because we will be talking to Gary for just a little bit. So just hang in there until we call upon you. I'll call out your area code, and then you can join us. And Gary will give you a reading. Hopefully, I don't lose my Google Hangouts page. Hopefully, Jamie's there. Okay, there we go. See, I'm all mixed up. I'm not used to doing the World Wide Web of Weird. Don't forget, guys, too, we are on Patreon. We have Patreon supporters. Thank you to all who do support us on Patreon. You can join for $1 a month just to support the show. But if you join for $2 a month, you get access to our podcast. Right now, we have Time Slips and Dimensional Shifts, our podcast. We're going to have a new one next month. The time slip thing is going to come up tonight. In Gary's book, he talks about that quite a bit. It's something I'm really interested in. Really talking about this precognition thing. We're going to get really into what is time. We're going to talk about that. But we're going to definitely take your phone calls soon. I know a lot of people want to get their readings, so just hang in there. We will be back after this short commercial break.
You were brought here for one purpose, necromancy.
A ceremony dating back to the pre-Christian era. It's the art of reviving the dead. It requires involvement with evil spirits by the person performing the act.
devil god brings life to the dead.
No, 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 please. No, please, no.
And death to the living. Necromancy, starring Orson Welles and Pamela Franklin. From Cinerama releasing. In color, rated PG, parental guidance suggested.
If you are interested in discovering the truth about the paranormal and want to hear from leading researchers in the field, join Justin Brown on his 3 weekly shows named My Paranormal Soapbox, Necromancer Live Show, and the Supernatural Symposium, live on Facebook, YouTube, and InterfaceDeath.net.
He is conducting an experiment into the combined effects of sensory deprivation and hallucinatory drugs. The subject of the experiment is himself, and the experiment is out of control. Ken Russell's Altered States, a film that must not be missed, is in the West End now. Altered States, Certificate X.
Hello, I am Fernando Martinez. I think by now you know I am an emotional kind of guy. People stop me in the street and say, Fernando, what the hell is wrong with me? Silk shirt, hairy chest, enough aftershave to drown a household pet, but I still cannot get a woman. I tell them you are an ignorant fool. Without a symbol of power and fertility around your neck, what kind of woman is going to respect you? That is why I have teamed up with Medallion Man, the shop for medallion needs. Medallion Man caters to all levels of masculinity. For the strong, silent type, a medallion the size of a hubcap will say everything that needs to be said. Even singing medallions for the Casanova, who knows music is the food of love. Model trains, dollhouses, diapers, whatever your interest, we've got a medallion for you. Don't forget, every woman knows if you can't support a medallion, you can't support a family.
This is the sound of a space clock aboard a U.S. satellite 180 miles above the Earth. No one winds up this timepiece. It's powered by a tiny battery, a battery that delivers power for years without replacement. Now the same type of battery, the Duracell battery, can bring new reliability and long life to your battery-operated equipment. Radios, cameras, toys, all run far longer. Duracell batteries, the long-distance power cells, outlast any ordinary battery. The same type of battery that keeps space clocks running for years can bring long life to anything powered by batteries. Dura, as in durable. Cell, as in power cell. The Duracell battery, made by Mallory.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from Talkstream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
Switch to DCS ranging.
240, nominal to profile.
We're in the pipe, 5 by 5.
Tonight on Paranormal Soup, our guest is Gary Williams. He's a psychic. We're going to be taking your calls in a little bit on the show. I already got somebody waiting on hold. You were going to do readings. But Gary was born in Norfolk, Virginia. He started his radio profession just after graduating high school in late 1979, early 1980, while working on a world-class TV and radio public television station in Boston. He began to have a series of psychic and paranormal experiences that led him to investigate the paranormal with an open mind, that while outside the framework of normal realities, these experiences may continue as yet undiscovered reality. He wrote the book Life After Death in 1989, A Life Beyond Death. He moved to Spain in 2013 and has set up a foundation to investigate paranormal claims outside the boundaries of normal physics. He's the author concerned with animal welfare since the beginning of his journalism career. His hobbies are gardening and classical music. He's the author of Life Beyond Death, Death Aftershock, A Walk on the Wild Side, One Man's Experience with Psychic Phenomenon, The Miracle Worker's World of Psychic Consultants, and his newest book is The Foreseeable Future, The Mysteries of Precognition. And this is something I'm excited to talk about. Like I said before the show started, my most common paranormal experience is precognition. I've had so many times I've seen the future in a dream. I've even had visions awake that have come true to the exact T of what I saw. And what does that mean? Does that mean the future's all written out, predestined? I've been reading Gary's book, and it really gets into that idea. Is everything predestination? Is everything set forth? We're going to talk about that with Gary tonight, and we're going to have your calls into the show to get readings from Gary. All right, let's get to our guest. You there with me, Gary?
Well, good morning. I guess it's still Sunday night in America, right?
It's a time slip, yes. Thank you for getting up early with us today in Spain.
I will say that I do agree with your comment about things being predestined. I mean, having had, well, I don't know, I've been a working psychic for 45 years. I don't know anything that can't be predicted ahead of time. So if there's so much free will, the first question you have to ask is, how can all these things be predicted years and years in advance? And, you know, I'd be more than happy to give you examples about many of the things that have happened to me out of the blue. I had nothing to do with making them happen. But my journey didn't start then. My journey started at 16. Can you believe it? I had no knowledge of paranormal things before I was 16 years old. That was the beginning.
What happened to you at 16 years old that kind of started this, that made you, I guess this is this when you realized you had a psychic ability?
No. My high school teacher started taking us on a series of field trips, which, because she was very different than most teachers. Don't forget that back in the 1960s, things were much different than they are now. I mean, I've been told what school is like today, and I wouldn't even recognize it. But at any rate, she took us to a spiritualist church, and they had a service where they gave messages. And the messages, to me, weren't all that astounding.
Yeah.
But at the end, there was a place to sign up for a materialization seance. Now, you have to remember that mediumship in the 1960s was very different than it is today. If you just say the word medium, the very first thing that the average person is going to think about is what they call a reading. Well, mediums never gave readings. They gave seances and sittings. So there were three kinds of sittings that you could attend. Mental mediumship, which is the ordinary garden variety, which is what's done today. Well, first of all, there were no mass demonstrations where people stood on a stage.
Right.
And, you know, you bought a ticket, you know, that didn't exist. And 90% of that is fake. It's either plants in the audience.
Or cold reading.
Or if it isn't plants, or cold reading, right. Yeah. In one of the books that I wrote called The Miracle Workers, I actually called out several of the people who do this, who have become quite famous. I'm surprised that they haven't contacted me to sue me for it, actually. But the interesting thing about it all is you could get a one-on-one mental mediumship reading or sitting, and there were some good ones around. Then there was the trance, where they go unconscious. I don't do trance myself, but I've had sittings with a couple of mediums, no longer living, by the way, who go into deep trance. Trance is not the same thing as channeling. Channeling is mostly rubbish. Somebody that supposedly never lived on Earth and an entity. And now, when I say trance, I'm talking about, they have a guide and they bring through your deceased relatives, or else perhaps, if he's a really good trance medium, your loved one or relative can speak directly through the lips of the entranced medium.
Right.
And then there's two more kinds. The one that I'm the most familiar with, that I wrote about in A Life Beyond Death, and I also wrote about Leslee. Well, I wrote about Leslee a lot, actually, because I knew Leslee. I knew Leslee Flint. Leslee Flint died in 1994, so he's fairly recent. Leslee Flint was a physical medium who had the ability, didn't go into trance, in a darkened room, sometimes in red light, sometimes in pitch blackness. They would withdraw a substance from Mr. Flint called ectoplasm, and they would fashion a replica of the human vocal organs called the voice box. And I was told, when we would sit with Leslee, that they would also take ectoplasm from the sitters. I know in the materialization seance at Norfolk, they did take ectoplasm from the sitters because I could feel it being drawn out of my body. At any rate, this voice box would then serve as a vehicle through whom all these dead people would speak. And they would step up to the voice box and just put their thoughts. How it works, I don't know. But there's hundreds of tapes on the internet now, on YouTube. You can go on YouTube and type in Leslee Flint recordings, or you can go to his website. He didn't have a website when he was alive. It only happened after he died. And there's all these marvelous recordings. That, to me, is the most evidential, because you can actually have a two-way conversation with the person. And there were two famous psychical researchers. They're dead as well. Everybody that means anything to me is dead. We'll get that out of the way right away.
Okay.
If you're going to say, Gary, other than yourself, if you wanted a really good reading, where would you go? And the answer is no place. There isn't anybody left. There was a Dutch guy who was able to predict things against all odds, and he also believed in predestination. His name was Dijkshorn. He died about 5 years ago. He lived to be 101.
Oh, wow.
But anyway, Flint's gift was so amazing that psychical researchers tested him by sealing his mouth and tying him in a chair so that there's no way that the voices were coming from his lips, and still the voices came. So the type of mediumship that introduced me to being a psychic was called a materialization seance, and that was the one that you don't get that anymore anywhere. Well, you don't get the direct voice either, like Leslee did. But I'm just going on to explain to you. So anyway, so she had taken us to this service, and we came back on the Saturday night, and I think there might have been 25 people in the room, 25 sitters, sitting in a horseshoe fashion around the room. It was a curtained-off area in the corner. They called it the cabinet. So the medium comes out, and he says, hello, my name is Warren Smith. I'm going to be your medium tonight. Let's hope, those that you want will come. I had no idea what to expect. But they withdrew the ectoplasm, just like they did with Leslee, but obviously they had to withdraw a lot more ectoplasm. So this was in a very bright, flooded red light, not white light. For whatever reason, white light and ectoplasm don't go together.
So you have to use a red light?
They had a red light in the room. You could see everybody. It wasn't a really flashing, bright red light, but it was bright enough so that you could see, that there was no way it could be faked. There weren't materializations walking around in pitch darkness.
Right.
So anyway, the medium goes, he sits in the cabinet, he goes into trance, and then we were told to sing. And I will never forget the song we sang. We sang East Side, West Side, all around the town, the sidewalks of New York. We sang it over and over and over. And they said that by singing, it builds the power. And this smoky substance came from the cabinet. And out of the smoky substance built up the figure of an Indian girl. And she said her name was Firefly. We're talking about solid, not talking about a ghost. Yeah, anyway, she had long black braids. And she walked around the horseshoe circle and, talked to everybody, and she said, there's nothing to be afraid of. We're going to do our best to bring those, that have crossed over, and they will put their spirit body, astral body, whatever you want to call it, into the ectoplasm. How they do it, I don't know. And then you can they actually materialize solid. So these little children materialize. This went on for 3 hours, by the way. And there's no way you could fake little children materializing. And they would run up to their parents. It was a very emotional thing.
It was people's children that they lost, Gary, that ran up to them?
That had died, yeah.
Oh, my God.
Dead children, right. Yeah. So anyway, 2 hours in, the cabinet attendant lady calls me up. You had to go up to the middle of the room to meet you didn't just sit in your chair. So I came up to the middle of the room, and she said, there's a lady here for you, and it's your grandmother. Well, the only grandparents I ever knew were my mother's parents, and they were still living. I never knew my father's parents because they died in the early 1940s. I was born in 1949. Long story short, I didn't understand. I never knew my father's mother, Mary Williams. So she materialized, and she said that she had been very interested in this subject when she was on the earth, but it was forbidden to be talking about it because it was supposed to be evil. Of course, we could spend an entire show talking about how religion has ruined people's lives, but that's not the subject of the show. But you can bookmark that comment. Gary said religion ruins people's lives.
Ditto.
The next thing that I knew, my uncle was standing in front of me, and he had died of cancer the previous year. He had a very long battle with cancer. And he spoke to me. I cannot remember what he said, but he was definitely solid, and he gave me a hug. And when the materializations disappeared, they didn't walk back into the cabinet where, there might have been a trap door. They disappeared right down into a cement floor. The floor in the room was solid cement.
They just, melted?
So I thought they just melted down,
wow.
Yeah. And I thought my part was done. I went back to my seat. And then she called me back, and she said, there's an old man who wants to speak to you, and he's one of your guides. So I had to come back again. So I wasn't scared by this time. I was very intrigued. So this old man builds up out of the ectoplasm, and he comes forward, and he gives me a hug. And he says, I'm one of your guides in your band. He said, when I was on this side of life, I was a spiritualist too. But I was very open about my spiritualism. My father was a minister. And he said, I have to tell you that you have a lot of psychic ability. And that's one of the reasons why I'm helping you, and I'm one of your guides. He says, when you go to school tomorrow, ask your teacher to get a book and look me up. He said there were two very famous doctors in the 19th century who were psychiatrists. And their names were Sigmund Freud and Carl Jung. He said, my name is Carl Jung.
Oh, wow.
And I was a spiritualist too. So I was no longer scared, and I thought, well, I'm going to get somewhere with this. So I had a piece of Wrigley's chewing gum in my coat pocket, and I said, Dr. Jung, if you would take this chewing gum and crumple it up and hand it back to me. And he did that. He also, let me shake his hand. I mean, this man was solid in every possible way. When we talked a little bit longer, he told me that I would develop a curiosity, which I did, about the subject. Of course, the sad thing about it is that this particular type of mediumship doesn't exist anymore.
What do you think that is, Gary? I have to ask that. What do you think?
It takes a very long time to develop it, a very, very long time. I sat in London in a developing circle for the Leslee Flint type, where the voices come, and I never got it. I sat for 11 years. Leslie sat for 9, and you have to sit with a dedicated group of sitters, and you sit for an hour and nothing happens, and then everybody goes home. It's extremely boring. At the end of the 9th year, he began to get voices. So people don't want to do this anymore. And the so-called readings of mediums are just garbage. I mean, it's just hogwash. I mean, I get them all the time because I'm interested to know if I might stumble across somebody. And, you know, they're just throwing out names, you know, and it's when we get into predictions, some of the mediums predict things like I do, and nothing's ever happened in my life that anybody has ever predicted, except a couple of occasions where I was told, well, when I lived in London, I was told that I would lose my living accommodation by a tarot card psychic. Yeah, and that all came true because the woman gave her house away to avoid the daughter having to pay death duty taxes, which are very, very high when someone dies.
Right.
It could be millions of pounds. So I was startled by the Carl Jung experience to the point where I did want to investigate more. And I did look him up in a book the next day, and it was that man. There's no way that it could be anything else. You know, you talk about materialization seances, and people don't even know what you're talking about. I would say that 90% of the Americans have never heard of Leslee Flint. If you talk about an ectoplasmic voice, and we're talking about the voice as being separate from his body,
right,
out in the air, out in the space, out in the room, and they could sometimes move the voice box around. My father died in 1984. Flint died in 1994. So I was able to have a number of sittings. By that time, he was getting older, and he only did groups. There would be about 10 or 11 people in the group, and almost everyone had someone come through and speak. And these things went on for a long time, too. I think he charged £5, which is about $8, you know. And, you know, these scallywags, like the guy from California, who you can figure out who I mean without me saying it, who's cheated for years. Can you imagine? This guy actually told Barbara Walters that there was something wrong with her blood. So she goes running to the doctor, and of course there was nothing wrong with her blood.
Right.
And this is a big thing about all this on YouTube. But, you know, when I talk about media, I don't do mediumship. I just do predictions. But if you want to talk about a psychic journey, I was much more interested in the spiritualism than I was the predictions when I got started. I was born in Virginia Beach, and I was very close to the Casey family.
Oh, wow, yeah.
Obviously did not know Mr. Casey since he died in 1944, but I knew his son. I knew Hugh Lynn Casey very well.
Oh, wow.
And I was in Hugh Lynn's class, and I started studying astrology. Actually, astrology is the best predictive tool that anyone can use. If you have a life question, and someone comes to see me, and my readings run anywhere from 1 to 2 hours, I also do it on the phone, I set up the astrology. Now, I always tell people, the Americans most of the time will know the hour of birth. British people never know their hour of birth. You ask them, they say, I don't know, it's not on my birth certificate. So the funny thing about it, and I have to be honest, is when I do the astrology, people have this prejudice that astrology is all about your sun sign and your personality. It isn't. It's a predictive tool which can be used. Let's say you want to get married. I can look in the chart and see, you know, it might be 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years down the line when this is most likely to happen. Now, if you bring me the chart of another person, I can analyze that chart and see what will happen between the two of you. Of course, on the radio, right, I just do it psychically. And if you come here, I do it on the phone. You know, I had somebody in Switzerland yesterday for reading, and she was on the phone for over an hour. I also do the tarot cards. But the astrology will pinpoint particular things. You know, I mean, I did the 2 charts back on the last 3 presidential elections. I did Hillary Clinton, and I did this guy you've got now. And, you know, I don't live in the United States, so, you know, I really don't have any interest in it. But, you know, I was on a radio show, and they asked me before, I think the nominations had just come through. So this was early days.
Yeah. We had an
they
astronomer
said, well,
on
what
that made a
do you
prediction, too.
What do you see? And I said, well, unfortunately, I think Mr. Trump is going to win. I said, it wouldn't be, I can't change the future. But I said, yeah, I think, that's what's going to happen to your country. I do refer to it as your country. I left 25 years ago, and I was told by a medium who also is no longer living that I would live out the rest of my life in a European country. And it's come true. I adopted Spain because Spain, to me, has the same weather as Southern California. And that's the only reason.
Is it less expensive than Southern California?
Much less expensive.
I bet.
Yeah, about 100% less expensive.
For people, I want to ask Gary, for people calling in tonight, what should they know or
well, here's the way I do it on the radio. When I was on Michael Vera's show, midnight in the Midlands,
or late night in the Midlands,
some kind of night in the Midlands. I said, Michael, you sound like an American to me. The Midlands is about in the middle of the UK. Oh, no, it's a different Midlands. I said, how can there be more than one Midlands? He said, this is a Midlands in South Carolina. Anyway, so I got the audience used to the way it works on the radio, and he handles a lot of regular people who call in all the time.
We do, too.
Same people call in all the time, and I'm quite sure that when they have psychics on, they ask the same questions over and over again because they're too cheap to get the real deal. I think I got 8 readings out of Michael's show, and you can only do 3 minutes on the radio, or at the most 5 minutes. But if you do a reading with me, I don't have a time frame. I just go on. I only do 1 reading a day when I take clients because I do other things. I write books. The Foreseeable Future actually comes out in May. And right now I'm writing a book about the mysterious disappearances in the Bermuda Triangle.
Oh.
And the famous planes, that disappeared out of Fort Lauderdale and all that. So I do a lot of other things. But when I'm on the radio, I say, ask me a question and give me your birthday. It has to be something specific. It can't be just give me a reading about my love life. And because I'm the great psychic, I'm supposed to know in advance that she's talking about her husband, her ex-boyfriend, her current boyfriend, or she doesn't have anybody in her life at all. And what she really wants to know is if she's ever going to meet anybody. But because I'm psychic, I'm supposed to know that in advance. And I really get pissed off when people do that to me.
So people should call in and just get right to the question.
Yeah. My boyfriend left me for another woman 18 years ago. I've had 100 psychic readings telling me he's coming back. What do you think, Gary? And I get it every single day.
I bet.
Or the one that gets me the most is I just met John. We've only dated once. Do you see us getting married? And I go, okay. Well, don't you think you want to get to know him a little bit before you decide whether or not you even would want to marry him? Oh, no, that's not the question. The question, I go, okay. If everything is predetermined in a reading, you can tell to a certain extent where something is going to go. I have a lady who calls me every day from New Zealand. Both parents are in nursing homes. They're worth millions of dollars, and she administers the trust, and she has nothing but trouble. One has bipolar disorder, and the other has senile dementia. And they're constantly demanding that she come every day, and it's driving her nuts.
Yeah, it's a tough.
So every day she calls me from New Zealand and asks the same questions over and over. So what I believe in a reading is that you should get the guidance that you need to, whether we have free will or not, we have the illusion of free will. If you call me up and you say, I'm going on a job interview on Tuesday, and I have to choose between 2 jobs, job A and job B, which you see would be the best choice for me that would work out. I can tell you that. If you say, will I ever get a job? I have to look at your whole future in 3 minutes. That's not likely to be a very good outcome. I do have people who are really, down and out. And I had a girl call me yesterday from Virginia, and she said she's trying to work out in her mind whether she has enough petrol to get to the job interview. Gasoline, sorry.
Yeah.
And she, she went to the petrol station, and she didn't have enough money to get to the job interview. And I said, well, at the end of the day, you really need to get your life in order. She's staying in a place so that she can be near her mother, who doesn't even know who she is, and she's responsible for her rather than going off to Portland, Oregon. I said, I get Seattle and I get Portland with you. I get the Pacific Northwest. Oh, no, that's too far away. I don't know anybody there. I said, okay. Well, stay in Virginia until you run out of money and then give me a call, I mean, it's just stupid. I mean, you have to take it on board that common sense does play a role, whether everything is predestined or not. I mean, I certainly had no plans to move out of that house in London. And I went to see the lady in Belgravia, and she said, well, in 1 year exactly, you won't be able to live here anymore. Actually, she's not the one that started it. Somebody came to the house for a reading, and then she wanted to read me. And so I let her do it, and she said she had these little child guides, and the guides told her that I was going to lose that living accommodation. I thought she was nuts. It actually came true to the exact month, because Wendy had decided to get rid of her house and still live in it, so she didn't have to pay any of the rates. She didn't have to pay the electricity bill, and she didn't even have to pay the council tax. And yet she got all the the benefits of the council and everything. Oh, they don't have councils in the United States. I'm sure that I'm losing your audience.
It's all
I'm
right.
trying to keep it more American, and I had to move out because the daughters came in. They had pound signs for eyes, and they wanted to make it into money-making thing, because there were 12 rooms, and they could rent them out and make it into a money-making thing. So that came true, and a lot of things came true. I don't read for myself, so I haven't found anybody that can tell me anything in the last, I'd say, 14, 15 years. I've been looking for somebody that's as good as I am, and I haven't found it. So, it's very interesting. And these people are charging ridiculous rates. There's a lady in California who, I won't name her because she's on this psychic directory. No, I won't name anybody that I don't like. But there is a psychic directory that's published, and I understand that you have to be tested to be on this directory. Anyway, she was one of the people, and she's also a medium. So she got the part about my mother right. She said, your mother died and you fell out and you had all these problems and it really wasn't your fault and all that. She got that right. And she even said how long it was before we were separated before she died. And then she said, you're going to meet someone and you're going to go and live in her house in February. And she said, I know it doesn't sound, this was around the early part of December of the previous year. I know it sounds quick, but it's going to happen. Well, that was 3 Februaries ago. So I wrote her an email, and I said, is it a February before they lower me into the grave? And I never got an answer. I mean, some of these people are just plain making it up. And they may have some psychic ability. But I sat in Development Circle for 14 years before I ever gave a reading. After I studied with the Casey Foundation, Virginia Beach, it was a very different situation back. Mr. Casey had only been dead for, I don't know, something like 10 years.
Yeah.
Now it's very commercial, and it's changed, and it's like a visitor center. There was no visitor center or anything. It was just a library, and you went there to study. If you were interested in developing psychic ability, you should go. It's really, they've still got all the readings and everything, the original readings. It's extremely interesting. And then I went to the College of Psychic Studies, 16 Queensbury Place. Now, the college is very upmarket. It's very expensive. But because I was living in London, I could take the underground and go and do it. And I had, I think, 5 or 6 course teachers. And not only did I go on with the astrology, but the mediumship development and the psychic development. We started with psychometry. You touch an object that someone brings into the room. You don't know the person. You don't know the person who's put the object into the basket. That's not revealed to you. You hold the object, and you say what you see coming for that person, and you give certain details. And I scored very high in the psychometry. People would say, you know, I told this girl once, I said, I see that you've been to an opera, which was Falstaff. Falstaff was a very famous opera. And she said she had been to this. And I asked her if she had, when she was a little girl, if she'd lived on a farm. And she said yes. And I asked her if she had any dental problems. And she said, no, I have no dental problems. I have perfect teeth. But 9 weeks later, she had a massive dental problem. She had to have a root canal. So that was from touching her watch.
Just touching the watch. I've had that experience from touching a photograph, where I knew a deceased person's first and last name. But it was just by, I wasn't trying. It just happened out of nowhere. I've never tried it again, you know, so I believe in it.
I could do it with a photograph. I could do it with a piece of clothing. I used to help police in the UK with missing persons, but I won't do it anymore because they have such a negative view of anybody with paranormal abilities that if I'm going to do something for free and not charge for it, at least I would like some, you know, some cooperation. And there was a very famous lady in Nutley, New Jersey. She's dead too. I knew Dorothy. Dorothy Allison. She was featured on a very old episode of Unsolved Mysteries with Bob Stack. I knew Bob. I knew his wife's Rosemary, is still living. They lived in Beverly Hills. Well, I lived in Beverly Hills. But anyway, long story short, Stack never believed in any of the things that he hosted on the show. He hated the psychic. He thought it was stupid. And you'd never know that, you know. He has this extremely professional, maybe you, help solve the mystery. Maybe you.
He's an untouchable,
help
man.
Solve the mystery. Yeah. Yes, he was. He did play that role. Anyway, the lady that was featured in the old episode was Dorothy Allison, and she was a good example of the future not being able to be changed. She would work with police, and she would say, I see this little boy that you're looking for, and he's frozen in a pipe in a park. He's dead. And his shoes are on backwards. And, of course, this wouldn't all come at once. They would keep coming back to Dorothy and getting more clues. Remember? Yeah. And then she said, you will find the little boy at 1:22 p.m. on the 23rd of February. And this was like 3 months later. Somebody was walking in the park and stumbled across, I guess, what would have been the remains of his body or whatever. And it was 1:22 p.m. when they called the police.
Wow.
So you have to say,
That's
if she could see the day, that was amazing. If she could see the day and it was going to happen, it was amazing. But she picked the exact hour. And that was pretty amazing.
Gary, are you ready to
take...
take...
She's no longer living either. I am. If you have a queue of people, the only thing I ask, please make the question sane. Please don't ask me if you're ever going to win the lottery or, you know, if you have a boyfriend that you broke up with 7 years ago and you haven't spoken to him in 7 years, it's highly unlikely that you're going to get back together again. But I mean, and I don't mean to be, you know, mean in any way, but I get it every day. And I go, you know, why? Every day, you know, I don't understand why we had to break up. It was so horrible, you know. I have a sign over my desk that says, never go backwards. Never go backwards. Always go forwards. Okay. So, yeah, and the only rule is 3 to 5 minutes and birth date and a particular question.
All right, birth date and particular question.
That's it.
All right. Well, who do we got at 440?
East of the Rockies, west of the Rockies, or wild card line?
I wish. Who do we have at 440?
Donna from Cleveland.
Hey, Donna, you've been hanging in there. Thanks for calling in.
No problem. Thank you for being available. Okay, I gave you my birthday, February 2nd, 1960.
Thank
you. My question to you is financial. It seemed to be, you know, it's like every time I get a little bit of money, then all of a sudden I'm broke. So I just wonder, am I going to improve financially? ever.
I don't see an enormous amount of change, but I also feel as though that you have the capacity to do more than one thing. That doesn't mean you have to do them at the same time. I'm speaking about work-wise. What do you do for work, please?
Well, right now I'm disabled. I had a bout with cancer, so.
Okay.
So I'm actually, but I mean, I did medical billing.
You have a capacity to do something more than one type of thing. What it would be, I don't know, from home. Like I work from home. I never leave my house when I do my work. So I do it on the telephone.
That would be great. That would be wonderful.
So, I'm not saying that you become a phone psychic, but what I'm being told is that you have the capacity to do more than one thing that you can do from your house. There are things, there's a site called Fiverr, Fiver, and I believe that site has to do with the $5 bill. And you can go on there, and whatever it is they want, you charge them whatever your rate is, you set your rate, okay? But that's something you could do for home. I'm not suggesting that you have to go out as a cancer patient and start tackling the world, but that's what they're showing me, and you can do it even if you're in a wheelchair, you can do it. Does that help you any?
Yes, it helps me a lot. Thank you so much. Thank you. Actually, I've been looking for something I could do from home.
Well, that's what my guide told me.
Okay.
All right.
Great. Thank you, guys. Have a great night.
Thanks for hanging in there. Thanks, Diana.
Yeah.
Okay, bye-bye.
Cleveland is one of my favorite cities because I applied to be on WCLV, Cleveland's Fine Arts Station. They went broke, too. They couldn't make it. Every classical music station that I wanted to be on, Robert Conrad from, I can't remember what the hall was in Cleveland. They used to do the Cleveland Orchestra. And unfortunately, now they've all become public radio stations, and they're begging for money. Anyway, all right. Let's get somebody that's west of the Rockies. That's my favorite part of the country.
Oh, I wish I could have like.
I was on Art's show before Art died.
Really?
But the guy that got on now, I wouldn't want to be on his show.
We won't mention names.
He puts me to sleep. Well, you know who he is. What do you mean? No, Snorri. Get it right.
We got a 309 area code. Who do we got on?
Hey, it's Diana.
Hi, Diana. Thanks for calling in.
My birthday's 3/7. Oh.
No, you're good.
You're welcome. 3/7/85, and I'm from Illinois.
Okay, what's your question, Diana?
All right, my question, I'm supposed to have major surgery, and I was wanting to know if you felt anything about that.
Where's the surgery?
Chicago.
No. Where on your body? Chicago.
Lower abdomen.
That's why I have to write that one down and use it in a book. I've never had that go. Go ahead, yes.
Sorry.
Where's the surgery?
My lower abdomen.
I live in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, Gary. Oh, okay. That's not what I meant. All right, go ahead.
I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. Is there lower abdomen?
Lower abdomen.
Yeah.
Lower abdomen. Okay. Is it scheduled for May, please?
There's been no scheduling yet, but I could be. It depends on when I'm physically ready. I have to curb a few habits.
Late May or early June. Late May or early June. I don't feel a cancerous growth, but I do feel something being removed. I'm not a doctor. I don't know, but they're showing me something being removed.
Yes, you're right.
I also feel that if you're going, well, I know I'm right because that's what he's telling me. I'm also suggesting very strongly that you go to a spiritualist church and you can get this done for free. That's spelled FREE. And you can get healing at any spiritualist church in Chicago. They have healing usually on Wednesday nights after the service, and the medium just puts hands on you, or the healer, usually on your shoulders, and gives you healing. And it's free. Some spiritual churches have healing circles, okay? I do not believe in healers who charge money, and I do not believe in healers who try to do it over the phone. I don't think that's possible. But I am a spiritualist, and I believe that if you go to a spiritualist church, you'll get healing. You might also get a message. What happened with your mother about 9 years ago? Something happened.
Oh, God. She just completely disowned me when I was 9, actually.
You come and see me for a private reading, because that's what they're telling me. But we don't have time because we have people lined up from, San Francisco to Portland, Maine.
Well,
all right,
thank you so
you'll
much.
be fine.
Hey, Gary, what's the best way for people to contact you for a reading? I want to make sure we keep getting that information out there for people.
My phone number. It's an American phone number. Let me explain how this works for those who are unenlightened. There is a phone company called Vonage, Vonage. You can live in Hong Kong, or you can live in Paris, or you can live where I live, and you take the Vonage box and you plug it into the high-speed internet modem with an American phone number, and voila! When you dial that Michigan phone number, you get me. But you're only calling Michigan. I can't take another person that says, but I'm paying to call Spain. No, you're not paying to call Spain. You're paying to call Traverse City, Michigan. The number. Are you ready?
Yeah.
I'm asking the girl from Chicago. Are you
Oh,
ready?
yes, sir. I'm still here. I'm ready.
Area code 231-307-5670. I do them on the phone. You can pay me on PayPal. You can pay me through Wells Fargo Bank, or you can pay me on MoneyGram. Those are the three ways you can do it. Or you can email me. Email always works, because even if I'm asleep, it's Gary at GaryWilliamsParanormal.com, because the website is GaryWilliamsParanormal.com. If you go to the website, which is GaryWilliamsParanormal.com, you'll see my email address, which is Gary at GaryWilliamsParanormal.com.
It's also in the show description on our Facebook and YouTube, too, for you.
All right.
All
Thank
right.
you. I really
You're going to come out
Great
fine.
job.
Let's just take
Really
something
great.
out,
Thank
but it'll
you.
be all right. All right. Good luck.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks for
Told her
calling.
about her mother, and she didn't even ask me about that. Yeah, there you go.
Well, you said it'd been 9 years. She goes, no, I was 9 years old. So it's like you got you got a real detailed piece of information there. I mean, about what happened.
They tell me everything. When I get into the vibration, all I need is the voice vibration. If someone calls over the phone from Chicago or wherever and they want a private reading, I'll do the astrology chart as part of the reading, as part of the service. But all I need is the voice vibration, the name, the birth date, and I'm there. Right before they even ask the question, they're telling me things, because that's the way I work.
Do you hear voices, or is it?
I do.
Yeah.
Sometimes with Dr. Jung, I will get a psychological problem. I will get Dr. Jung, who of course was a psychiatrist, and obviously, I will get comments that way. But when I'm working, but I have to do it one-on-one. I do not believe that you can stand in front of 500 people and point to someone and suddenly, start getting information, because you have the vibrations of all the people in the audience. And if you start throwing out things, you're bound to get a hit.
Right.
I have a lady who died. Was she buried, please? Did she wear clothes? Did she eat food? I mean,
Well, Gary, I've always wondered about that, because we're not going to mention names, but there's some shows out there where people have done this, and the rumors are that they put people in the props, because there were some things that's like, well, that's not cold reading. They definitely got something, but then that person was a prop, an actor, or
they have plants in the audience. I know a couple of mediums that are no longer living that used to do that, English mediums. But, that's not the way I work. I work one-on-one. You come to see me in my home in Spain. I have people fly in from the UK. Or you don't have to do that. You can just do it on the telephone. And people say to me, when you come here, I like to know, or do it on the phone, I like to know what you want, because we could go on for hours and I could tell you your whole life and never get to the thing that's nearest and dearest to your heart,
I want to get this phone information out there for people. There are only 2 phone lines tonight, because I got Gary on the other line. There's 219-230-4444 or Skype ID oojblandoo. You can call in those 2 ways. Just remember, just wait till we call on you. Or if you get hung up on, just try after you hear the person hang up, try calling in. I got a lot of people trying to call in right now. You ready for another one?
I'm ready for the entire 3 hours of the show, as long as my voice doesn't give out.
Right. Well, hopefully
I don't
not.
have Leslie Flint's ectoplasmic voice box. Okay.
All right, we got
Yeah,
405 area code. Who do we got?
I got your buddy old pal Tyler here.
How you doing tonight, Tyler?
Pretty good. I'm taking a break from working. I've been working my tail off these couple of days.
Well,
just want to
you
know
need
if I'm
birthday-
doing everything right.
Well, you need a birth date there, Tyler, and then get a question for him.
My birth date?
Yep.
My July 22nd.
What year?
And I just wondered if I'm doing everything right. If you know,
Tyler, what
I'm in
year?
limbo.
Were you born in any particular year, or
Yeah.
did you're just throw any old year?
86. Sorry.
That works for me.
And what's your question,
Go ahead.
Tyler?
What's the question?
I just want to know if I'm doing everything right. I feel like I'm in limbo. I don't know.
You're changing
I'm just
jobs
all
in
mixed up.
July. You're changing jobs in July. I'm going to focus on the job front. You're changing jobs in July, and you're going to be doing something that requires a little bit of learning. Not a lot. You're not going back to school or anything like that. But you're going to be doing something that you enjoy, and it comes through somebody that's a friend. I don't know whether they're a friend now or they become your friend later. But down the line, you'll be glad that you made the change. At the moment, you're mixed up. I see you kind of like running around in circles. But July is the turning point, because my guide says as we go the July month and on from there, the bonds are free, whatever that means. It might mean something to you. So you don't have to worry, because it is going to happen, okay? It's kind of like the 1,000 lottery tickets. If you want to win the lottery, you don't go out and buy 1,000 lottery tickets. If it's meant to be, you just buy one and you win it, okay?
Exactly.
So don't go looking for it. Just let it happen. It's going to happen, and you'll be fine. As far as what you're going through now, I don't see any change between now and then. I feel you'll just be mixed up.
Well, I have a job interview tomorrow, and hopefully that's going to be my change. And my birthday's in July.
It could
so,
be
of
your
course.
change, but there's still a major change. If you got it, then there'd be a major change in July, okay? But it's working career that you need to get sorted out. In the 2019 year is like a beginning of a new cycle for you, okay? Because you're leaving a lot of things behind from the past, and you're going to be going forward. All right? I hope that helps.
Awesome.
Well, thanks for
Yes,
calling in, Tyler.
it does. I'm graduating
All right.
school this hopefully in November, and that's in the 2019. It's awesome. The guys are acknowledging all that. Thank you so much.
All right.
All right,
You're
have a great
welcome.
night, Tyler.
Have fun.
Again, guys, 219-230-4444, Skype ID oojblandoo. I've had a couple people try to call in on the other two lines. Don't call in on those. Those are down tonight. Just 219-230-4444, Skype ID oojblandoo. I've been reading your book, and the idea, for one, predestination, you really start off with the book about, kind of poo-pooing anybody who thinks that they can kind of change their destiny, it seems like. And I've always wondered that, Gary. I've always wondered, is it possible to change? Because I've seen things to the T, like you talk about in your book. I've had dreams that have come completely true, and sometimes years later after I've had the dream, it's like, is everything just pre-planned? It's
all planned out before you're born, whether you plan it or God plans it, I don't know. But, the Dutch psychic Crusette can predict who would sit in a certain chair in a lecture hall.
Like describe them to the T.
Before they even announced the lecture. And it's just amazing, the dreams that people had. We had the lady who dreamed the parts she would play in
she knew the
movies
scripts and stuff
long before the scripts were even written.
Right.
And I predicted things against all odds that would happen to people. And they say, well, I think the worst one, I was giving a demonstration at a spiritualist church, and this lady comes up. I say, you have to come up to the front if you want to ask a question, okay? Don't be shy. We're not going to do any pointing here. I hate that when maybe it's the one next to. Maybe
until I get the right one.
They're waffling around. Yeah, they're waffling around. And she said, "Can you tell me when I will have a husband? When I will be married?" And I said, "Yes, you'll be married in 2 years." And I described the man, And she said, "You're a bloody liar. My husband is standing right beside me." And then he raised his hand. I said, "I cannot change what I have been told." 6 months later, her husband was hit by a car and killed.
God.
2 months, 2 years to the day, well, to the month, maybe not to the day. 2 years later, she met the man that I described and got married.
I know you in the book. You say you don't tell a person if you see that they're going to die. You don't do the death.
No, I don't. But she didn't ask that question. She
Right.
said, "When am I going to get married?"
Right.
I said, "You get married in 2 years," and I described the man. I didn't say anything about anybody dying.
Yeah.
I didn't know how it would happen. I had no idea. I do sometimes give people warnings about things, but I never tell anybody that they're going to die. You know, the thing that I don't like is that I get an awful lot of love readings. And for some reason, it's women who want to go backwards.
It's $1 million industry, Gary.
I won't do. I'm married and he's married, but we've been having a relationship with benefits for over 7 years. Can you see me? Can you see him leaving his wife? And I go, maybe I should give her money back right now. You know? Because if you're that stupid and you're calling psychic after psychic after psychic to hear what you want to hear, you will hear it, because they will take your money and tell you what you want to hear until they get to me. And to be honest with you, I'm not religious in any way, but I don't think it's morally right to be having a relationship with a married man. And it happens every single solitary day. Every day.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
and
yeah.
they try to trick me, and they say, "Well, there's something that might be, stopping it. Can you pick up what it is, Gary?" Yes, yeah, I can pick up what it is. He's married.
That's a little bit of a problem.
And take your clothes with you.
Yeah.
Oh, what is wrong with these women?
Tinder. I don't know.
I don't know. I have actually. I will read anybody, but at the end of the day, if it is predestined, maybe it's predestined for them to keep on with this nonsense until they finally wake up and smell the bacon frying and realize that that they're not going to get anywhere.
Well, the reason I was interested in the death predictions, I knew somebody who confided in me, and he was kind of like a mentor of mine when I was in music. That he would constantly see how people are going to die, and he'd be right. And he told very few people because he's like, it's not changeable. And that's one of those things. He's like, there's no point even telling somebody it's not going to change. Whatever I see, it ends up happening. And he was dead serious. Yeah. And I was like, well, I don't want to know. He's like, I wouldn't tell you. And I'm like, I don't want to know. I would think that would be a horrible gift to have, to see that, especially if you can't change it.
No, Alex Tanis used to tell people when they were going to die. He was a friend of mine. I don't believe in that, but Alex had an amazing gift. He had them all. He could go out of his body. He could do healings. He could make predictions. He could do it all. And we were very, very good friends. He died of cancer in 1990, but he was the original investigator on the Amityville case with the American Society for Psychical Research. He was a bona fide investigator, and he was in there for 4 hours. And Dr. Osis was the parapsychologist, a psychical researcher, and he said, "What do you see, Alex?" He said, "I don't see anything, Dr. Osis. The whole thing is a hoax." Nothing happened at Alley. Nothing. Yep. Nothing happened. Nothing paranormal happened.
Nothing's happened after.
Then
after
of course,
ended.
The Warrens went there, and they said it was demons, and then I worked on a poltergeist case that I was involved in California, and the family's still living. And I said, it's a poltergeist case. I don't see anything evil happening here. There's someone trying to attract your attention, and they're tearing up your house in the process, just like the Enfield case. It was a man who died in the chair downstairs. And Guy Playfair and Morris Gross were the two investigators from SPR. And, of course, the family were very well off financially, but they had a room temperature IQ. And so they brought the Warrens in, Lorraine walking around, and she told me I was going to hell. And I said, well, I'll see you there, because I said, you're not a medium. You're faking it. You're faking it, Lorraine. And she didn't like me at all, and neither did Ed. And he was deaf. She used to say, Ed, Ed, Ed. He's dead now.
She died,
I went
too.
to their museum. Yeah. The Warrens have got a reputation for being the most famous demonologists in the world. Anyway, I was the principal investigator on the case. They did nothing to get rid of it. Charged the family $4,000.
Holy God.
Picked all the oranges off their tree in the backyard to take them back to Connecticut.
$4,000.
And I wrote about it. I wrote about it in A Walk on the Wild Side. The whole story is in the chapter. Can we explain the poltergeists?
Well,
so,
we're going to go.
I've been active. Yeah, going to take a break?
Yeah, we're going to go to commercial break, and we got somebody waiting on hold. So whoever's waiting on hold, hang in there. We'll take your call after the commercial break. They've been trying to call in. Everybody else trying to call in. Just wait. Keep trying here in a little bit. We'll eventually get your phone call in. All right, guys, we'll be back after the short commercial break. Don't forget to check us out on Patreon. Help out the show. $2 a month. You get exclusive content to like our exclusive podcast on there right now. Time slips and dimensional shifts. We're gonna have a new podcast on there next month. You get exclusive content by helping our show out on Patreon. All right, guys, we'll be back after the short commercial break.
Transmission of unknown origin.
Transmission? Out here?
SOS.
Human.
Unknown.
Alien. Certificate X. Exclusive engagement at the Odeon Leicester Square. Now.
Any systematized transmission indicating a possible intelligent origin must be investigated.
I will hear it.
In space, no one can hear you scream.
Paranation Magazine is a new paranormal magazine based out of Denver, Colorado. Our goal isn't just to give you the best paranormal content out there, but to promote paranormal unity. We're doing this by giving everyone an opportunity to tell their stories and to share their experiences. For more information, follow us on Facebook at Paranation Magazine and soon, paranationmag.com.
Knights of the road, here's your stallion. The car for freedom. The car for hot excitement. The car for a man who is alone against the elements.
The Waibatsu Thunder.
The pride is back. It's the power of a compact.
Looks small, but it's so big.
Fuel injected.
Inject me.
My Batsu Thunder. On the toll road of life, you have to pay to prove you can. Live the emotion of an individual.
Thunder.
The awesome power of nature distilled into one vehicle. Because after you get struck by lightning, there's thunder.
The Waibatsu Thunder.
Alex Gardner is asleep. He has an extraordinary gift. The government wants it. The scientists want it. But to keep it may cost him his life. It might be better if Alex didn't sleep at all. But he cannot resist entering the dreamscape. Can you? See Dreamscape in the West End and all over London now. Certificate 15. It takes an extraordinary adventurer to enter the dreamscape.
This is an APAC studio presentation.
Hey kids, tired of running away from home? Then getting lost and wrapping your big wheel around a cow? Then having no one to turn to other than that weirdo in the van with the dark tinted windows? Or his friend, your creepy Uncle John? Well, worry no more with new OnStar for Kids. Now you can run away in style with an OnStar for Kids kit installed in your big wheel, tricycle, or cute little smart car. Yes, just in time for Christmas, OnStar for Kids. So the next time you're on your way to Granny's house, or Weekend Dad's pathetic little bachelor pad, and you run over a homeless person in your toboggan, OnStar for Kids will clean up the mess, hide the hobo body, and get you there in time for nappies.
This is OnStar. Do you need someone to kiss your boo-boo?
This has been a presentation from Tim Morgan's APAC Studio. For more almost professional amateur comic studio content, visit the APAC YouTube channel. Search APAC 2002. That's APAC 2002 on YouTube.
Edgar Allan Poe wrote Spirits of the Dead with a pen dipped in warm blood. You will see the ultimate in terror with this important all-star cast. Brigitte Bardot, Alain Delon, Jane Fonda, Terence Stamp, and Peter Fonda in Edgar Allan Poe's Spirits of the Dead. Only Poe's demented genius could bring to the screen such horror and evil. Spirits of the Dead stars Brigitte Bardot, Alain Delon, Jane Fonda, Terence Stamp, and Peter Fonda. Directed by three masters of the cinema, Federico Fellini, Louis Malle, and Roger Vadim. Spirits of the Dead is an adventure in terror beyond your wildest nightmares. Spirits of the Dead in color is rated R.
The city is headed for a disaster of biblical proportion.
What do you mean, biblical?
What he means is Old Testament, Mr. Mayor. Real wrath of God type stuff.
Exactly.
Fire and brimstone coming down from the skies. Rivers and seas boiling.
40 years of darkness, earthquakes, volcanoes.
The dead rising from the grave. Human sacrifice, dogs and cats living together. Mass hysteria.
Tonight, our guest is Gary Williams. He is a psychic. We're taking phone calls into the show for mini readings. About 5 minutes is what you want to pretty much guess about the time the reading will be at max. We got a lot of people trying to call in. Just as soon as you hear a phone call in, then you want to try to call back in. Right now, I already got somebody on hold, but we will be taking your phone calls. 219-230-4444 or Skype ID oojblandoo. Those are the two ways to call in tonight. The other two lines are down because that's what I have when I have a guest on a phone line. I only got the two other lines to call in. So just hang in there. Keep trying to call in. I love this topic tonight, though, of precognition. His book is The Foreseeable Future, The Mysteries of Precognition. I've had so many experiences in my life of seeing the future, mainly in dreams. But you know, I mean, I even had one where I had a vision of my wife on a camping trip when I first, like right after our first date. That vision came completely true to the T that I saw it. Are we predestined? Not only that, I saw when I was in grade school. I went to grade school with my wife. I saw my wife and me together, married years in the future, way many years in the future. I blew it off as a kid, and we never talked in high school, but we ended up getting married. So how predestined? It bugs me to death. How predestined are we? Do we have any free will? So this is a conversation we might get into in between phone calls. It's been bugging me, and his book is really good getting on this subject. But don't forget, call in 219-230-4444 or Skype ID oojblandoo. Let's go ahead and get back to our guest. You still there with me, Gary?
Oh, I'm still here. I was just thinking while you were playing the commercials about these old movies. I think I've actually seen some of those old movies. Anyway, I was thinking that your viewers, I mean your listeners, should actually live their lives as though they did have free will, even though it is all pre-planned by God or by you or by whatever. Because if you don't, when you come for reading, I say, look, I do give advice. I do say, don't take that job. Don't do this. Don't do that. But at the end of the day, people are going to do what they want to do anyway. You know, somebody could have said to me, don't go to London because you're going to end up no place to go when the lady gives her house away. Well, I went to London because I had no choice. Right. I needed a place to live. I was a writer. I went to the Chelsea Arts Club. I met this elderly lady, and she said she couldn't see properly, and she wanted somebody to come and live in her house for free and do the grocery shopping. So, I wasn't going to say, oh, no, I don't need a place to live for free. Thanks anyway. No, it was all part of the thing. But when I do the readings, I say you have to live your life as though you did have free will. Right. So you will hear me say, do this, don't do that, okay? It's not a contradiction because you're going to end up, where you're supposed to end up anyway. I'd say, having done this work since the 1970s, I'd say half the people listen to what I have to say and half the people don't pay any attention, even after they pay for the reading. They just say, well, I don't like what he said, and, I used to be on a phone line, and people just hang up on me. And what they're doing is they're just going from psychic to psychic to hear what they want to hear.
Yeah.
Just going from psychic to psychic to psychic to hear what they want to hear, Does he love me? Well, he doesn't know you long enough. Have you known him at least 6 months? Well, we met last weekend. I'm going, what? I get it all the time.
I do think people would be more concerned about, like, I don't know. Love life seems to be where most people do call in for these things or do get readings, it seems like. But you think there's got to be bigger questions for people than that. But it does take up a good part of the human
I have this lady calls me every day from Auckland, New Zealand, and she has the two parents in the nursing homes, and they're in separate nursing homes, and they're driving her nuts. And, they're threatening to walk out, and, he has millions of dollars, and he's going to stop the trust, and there's an accountant, there's a psychiatrist, and there's a lawyer, and I'm supposed to read them all. And I said, look, ditch the lot if I were you and just live a normal life. She's only 40 years old, she can still work, but she'd rather live off the trust. I said, fine.
Then you got to put up with the craziness.
That's right. Then you have to put up with the craziness, and I'm charging her for listening to it. I get paid for it,
There are two instances in my life. And both stories are too personal for me to tell, but I do have two instances in my life where I've had these precognitive dreams ever since I was a little kid, Gary. And I mean, super detailed. I mean, you can ask my wife. I even predicted that we were going to get pulled over because everything was playing out just like the dream. I mean, stuff like that. But there are two instances in my life where I was shown something and I did do the opposite thing. I changed it. It was like I was shown like a different direction I could have gone in, and when that time came, I chose a different direction. So I've always wondered if there is some loophole or somewhere where we can change something.
I don't think it's any loophole. I just think you made a choice, which was already you made the choice, but in the end, the choice that you made was the predestined ending, or whatever you want to call it.
So it was just.
I've had things dreaming horse race winners before the horses run. So
that's a good dream to have.
all that is in there. And then I think the time slip case of the guy who was flying the plane, and he looked down below and he said, "Oh, well, the airfield is all different." It was different, but it wasn't different until about 8 years later.
I actually covered that in my podcast on that subject. I just did a podcast on that, and that's one of the stories I covered. It's a classic one, but of the time slip. Yeah, because he saw the future. I mean, he saw what was going to happen. He was there. It seemed like physically there, flying over this field that wasn't even an airfield again yet.
I mean, Nostradamus saw things years before, years later, hundreds of years later. I mean, he was predicting the French Revolution back before there even was a thought of a French Revolution. And I do the same thing. I see things that happen years later. I had a lady here who came around Christmas time, and she said, "Don't you remember when I came to see you in 1999? And I said, "No." She had all the notes from the reading, and I said, "I don't remember you." And she said it took years for it to come true.
Oh, wow.
But she said, "I did have a husband. He did die, like you said. I did meet somebody new, and I met him in the year you said I would meet him. And it all came true, but it took something like 7 years for it all to happen." And I said, "Well, I don't know.
I've been a believer since I was a little kid. My mom even had a reading where the lady told her the name of her future husband. That he was clean shaven, his profession. She was down to the T, like everything about it. And it all came true, just like she said. I've been a believer in this as a possibility, and people having this ability since my earliest memories, from my own experiences and from my family members. We do got somebody waiting on hold here. If you're ready to take another call.
Yeah, I'm ready when you are.
All right. Well, area code 661. Who do we got?
This is Charlie.
Charlie?
Yes.
Hi. Thanks for calling in. We need a birth date, too.
1/11/78.
I'm just curious where 661 is. Are you west of the Rockies? I'm curious.
Yes.
I just want to. You are west of the Rockies, okay? She probably isn't old enough to recognize the joke, but that's okay. Go ahead.
Be an
Ask
Art
your
Bell fan.
question. Yeah. Go ahead.
I was wondering if you see any time in the near future that I'll be able to buy a house.
Okay. Are you renting, please?
Yes.
You're renting. Okay. I don't see it in this year, and sometimes timing is hard when you go very far into the future. They're showing me a connection with someone in the 2020 year, and in that year, and don't ask me the month because I don't see the month, but I see that you will be able to buy the house, and I see that you're joining forces with someone. So evidently you're not married or you're not involved with someone that would be in the financial situation where they could help you buy a house. Does that make sense to you?
Yep. I'm completely single, so yeah.
So in 2020, there was actually a television series called 2020. In 2020, you will be able to buy a house, but you don't buy it on your own. Okay? And I see somebody who likes things that are very modern. I don't know. I hate modern things. Are you liking things that are modern looking, or am I wrong?
No, actually, I love really old houses.
You like old things, okay?
Really
the person
old
you're going to
houses,
meet
yes.
likes modern things. The person that you're going to meet likes modern things. Yeah, I've always lived in old houses. When I lived in America, I lived in Virginia. I lived on a cobblestone street in a house that was built in the 1890s. So, you know,
I love
I'm on your team. I'm on your team, but this man's going to like that kind of stuff. But you'll buy the house in 2020, that's for sure. And I feel that you'll argue over the architecture.
Modern versus classic.
How funny.
But you will.
Okay, well, thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Charlie, for calling.
All right.
Again, the phone lines are 219-230-4444, Skype ID oojblandoo. I have somebody that keeps calling in on the wrong one. It always happens. But you could have totally gone off the rails there. You're very confident in what you do, and that's what I always see as one of the signs of a good psychic. You plainly say,
I
you're
know
single.
exactly what I've done. I could have told her more. I was going to talk to her about going back and doing some schooling and things. You know, I mean, the thing is that, when I did Michael Vera's show, I think he had about 4 or 5 callers, something like that. And, people, for some strange reason, they don't, maybe they don't want to invest in having the reading. I don't know. But I can basically tell you anything that you want to know, and I have about a 98% accuracy rate. So the only thing I won't do now is I won't go back to doing the mediumship part because it's just too complicated to combine the two things together.
I mean, speaking to somebody's dead relative.
I used to do it in spiritualist churches all the time, but I don't do it anymore. There's not that much calling for it anymore. People just want to know what's going to happen. And if they want to know what's going to happen, I'm the guy to tell them. If you want to connect with somebody like that, I do know a couple of mediums in England that are pretty good. One of them is Gordon Smith, who used to be a barber. He used to cut hair, and he used to tell you while he was cutting your hair, all about your dead relatives.
Oh, man. That's going to be an awesome haircut.
He's the real deal. I've seen him demonstrate. I've seen him demonstrate at the Spiritual Association of Great Britain, and he's also taught classes at the College of Psychic Studies, 16 Queensberry Place, where I spent a number of very wonderful years learning my skill. So, and I recommend that if anybody wants to develop psychic abilities, I haven't had any calls. I always get somebody that wants to develop. I recommend the college. Oh, that's right. You're in the United States. Oh, dear. Well, anyway, 16 Queensberry Place, South Kensington, South Kensington Tube Station. I recommend it because that's where I would not go anywhere.
I mean, there's spiritualist organizations in America. Do you recommend people kind of look into those?
Yeah, but they won't teach you. They won't teach you how to develop properly.
No.
You have to sit in the circle, and you have to know how to do it the right way. And there's very few. Even the Casey Foundation doesn't have classes anymore. You just go there and you see the readings, and they have a visitor center, and they have a restaurant. I mean, it's like a garden open day in the UK. They serve tea and cookies.
Well, do you think people can? Do you think people can develop their psychic ability to your level, or
you can? You have to have. It's like the pianist. You have to be able to have the ability, but then you have to learn.
But not everybody has
innate ability. Not everybody has it. No.
All right, we got 480.
I don't think you can just go in. Okay, go ahead.
We got 480 area code. Who do we got?
Hey, Jason and Zach. How you doing tonight, brother?
Hey, Zach. Thanks for calling in.
All right, May 22nd, 1989.
What's your question?
Hey, Gary. I'm a co-owner of a cigar lounge, but eventually I want to own my own cigar brand. I want to start one from the ground up. Do you see me doing that at all in the near future?
What's a cigar lounge? I must be out of the loop. I'm 70. What is it? What is a cigar lounge? What is it?
It's where people come in, they buy cigars, they smoke them on site.
I see.
Drink
All right.
food from the restaurant on the same property.
Oh, I see. It's kind of like a gentleman's club.
Yeah, but it's not exclusively for men. Anybody can come in.
Oh, all right. Well, I'm sure you don't have a sign that says smoking can be hazardous to your health. What I see for you is that you will own your own, you'll own your own thing, and there's going to be a collaborator. Whether or not he smokes cigars, I don't know, but they're showing me a collaborator. And the collaborator and you will go into this sometime in the next year, and I feel that you get together in a number of places to meet before you do this, not just your place. So it's going to be something that you're going to do. It's a venture. You have to have some venture capital, and I see you doing it, all right? But I don't see you doing it right away. And I'd be wrong if I told you that you're doing it right away, because you're not doing it right away. I see early spring or late winter. So that would be, well, where I live, there is no winter. But around the March time, somewhere in there, I see somebody that has a lot of interest in other things. That means that this person has other businesses that don't have anything to do with cigars. Okay? Definitely you will own your own business. I can't tell you any more than that in a short reading. If you want to book a long reading, you can do that. It's wide open for. I'm up to the middle of May now. Can you believe it? It's unbelievable.
Well, I can tell when we do these shows, when we have a psychic on, and how many people call in. That there's people that want to find a legitimate psychic to get information from, because, like you said, there's a lot of people out there that might not be giving you the real deal. Well, thank you, Zach, for calling in.
Yeah, that's true.
Hey, Gary, thank you for answering my question, and Jason, thank you for allowing me to call in. You guys have a great night, all right?
All right.
You too. But, the spiritualist church, I've had a lot of people tell me, because I've always said I'm a Gnostic, but I believe I'm like a spiritualist and Gnostic. I question everything, but I've seen enough to know that there's another side. I've seen enough to know that there's spirits and precognition and all these things. I've had people tell me, you really are more of a spiritualist than anything. And it's something I've always been interested in. But the spiritualists in, like, where you're, in England or in Europe are completely different than what the spiritualists are here in America.
In England, yeah. I don't think there's any concrete proof outside of the Leslee Flint tapes of life after death. And there's so many of them that if you listen to just 2 or 3, you'll be convinced.
Yeah.
I mean, you go on to LesleeFlint.com and you click on one of the recordings that you want to hear. They've cleaned up the audio because they're quite old. They were done on reel-to-reel tapes. And I have to tell you that they're even all over the internet now with other websites that aren't Leslee Flint. You can hear them on YouTube. I mean, there's just, and they're all different voices. There's no way it could be Leslee Flint just because he's sitting in the dark. It doesn't mean anything.
Well, you said it took him years to develop that, right? I mean, years of sitting there
9 years.
reading the same. What it reminded me of is,
I sat for 11 years.
Did you ever see the skull experiment The documentary they did on that.
Yes, I knew the guy. I knew the guy who did the skull experiment. It was done in his home in Skull, Norfolk, England, in the basement. And they had psychical researchers from the Society for Psychical Research come in to validate it, and it was done under extremely highly controlled conditions.
Right.
And it went on for years and years and years and years and years.
What I remember is that they
been a
met.
book.
They met a lot before anything started happening. It was kind of the same deal.
Right.
So what do you think that is? Is it
Well,
just
they had two mediums.
Yeah.
They had two mediums. They had two women mediums. It was the wives of the two guys that set the thing up. And they set up protocols so that there could be no cheating. One of them was a deep trance medium.
Right.
And because she was a deep trance medium, they were able to do these things and say, these are the conditions that we need to make it. And they sat in the dark.
Right.
So, because the ectoplasm, whatever it is that they used, but they did. I mean, they had film they would bring in, and it would be still sealed in the wrapper.
And there'd be
And
writing
when they
on
would
it.
develop it, it would have, they would have images on it, pictures on it.
There was like...
oh, yeah. I was very impressed with the skull experiment.
That's what
I
kept
knew
thinking
Robin
about it.
Foy.
Yeah.
I knew Robin Foy. I knew him very well. He was a salesman for a brewery company in the UK. We used to meet in London all the time because he was a big proponent of the Noah's Ark Society, which was an organization that supposedly helped you develop this type of mediumship. But I don't know anybody that ever developed it because it's such a rare gift. I tried to develop it, and as I told you, I didn't get it because, I was sitting for the direct voice, where the voice would manifest independently. I never went into any sort of trance at all. And the voices did not manifest, but we did have a lot of things happen. We saw lights, we heard sounds, we had things move, but apparently the power wasn't strong enough to bring these voices. But Flint certainly had it almost up to his dying year.
Certain people have more of a power for them to draw from.
Obviously.
Yeah, that's what I've always wondered. We do experiments here, live on the show.
Yeah.
And it seems
really?
Yeah,
Oh,
we
dear.
do. Once in a while, we do like live spirit box, live session. We've had voices come through with just into the audio, just straight into our audio. It's happened on shows where we're not trying to do it. And it seems like because these seems to be effective, is like people have to gather with an intent at a certain time to, I guess, open that doorway. And of course, then there's certain people that seem to fuel it more. I've noticed I have had certain guest mediums on, and when we do, we seem to get more activity.
Yeah, well, obviously, physical phenomena mediumship, obviously, if they wanted to go that route, they may be able to develop it if they had the power, but most people don't have the patience to sit in the developing circle week after week after week after week with nothing happening,
Right.
hoping that at the end of the road they're going to get the mediumship.
Right.
I did it, and I didn't get it. So, but the type of mediumship that's the most normal garden variety is so watered down, so bland, so boring, that I cannot imagine any thinking individual, of which there are very few living anymore, having any interest in going.
Right.
I mean, if you see some of these people on the YouTube demonstrations, it's so general, and they can never, I get names in predictive type readings all the time. I'll say, I see you meeting somebody with such and such a name, or I see in the reading that you're married to somebody with such and such a name. If they're so psychic and they're supposed to be talking to the dead, why can't they give them the name?
I think my mom, when she had her reading, she gave her. I'm pretty sure if my mom might be watching, that the psychic gave her the name. Even my stepdad's name, Tom. I mean, like she was dead on.
Well, there you
description,
go.
Everything. So, yeah, she was well known in our town for being very good at it. We got another phone call, 606 area code. Who do we got?
Lee.
I'm sorry, I missed that. Who was this?
This is Lee Sambo.
I didn't understand it either. Don't feel bad.
Yeah, say the first name for me.
Lee. It's Lee. L-E-E.
Roy?
Lee.
Lee.
Yeah.
Lee. Okay. Sorry, a little distorted. Lee. Sorry. What's your birthday, Lee?
September 23rd, 79.
Oh, okay. What's the question, Lee?
I was just wanting to see what you've seen in, like the future for me, pretty much. It's my first time talking to media.
Psychic.
In what area of your life? Because, we could cover the whole life, but not in 5 minutes.
Yeah, what are you interested in knowing?
Let's do financial.
Financial, okay.
Yes.
I take it, first of all, the first thing they should, I pick up a lot of things about you, but, we don't want to go into all that on the air. I pick up that you do not work for yourself. Is that true? Do not work for yourself.
That's true.
Okay. I feel that there are things that you could do to alter your financial condition, but you'd have to do a remake. You'd have to start over again because whatever job, you don't even have to tell me what it is because it doesn't matter. I feel that whatever job you're doing, you have to make some radical surgery in order to make more money because that's what you're obviously looking to do. I understand the question. I understand you want me to tell you that if things are going to get better in the future, if you don't do anything, and the answer is no. You have to do something to make a change. And this is true in all elements of life. When am I going to meet somebody, Gary? Well, do you go out? No. Do you go to a club? No. Do you go to the pub? No. Do you work? No, I don't have a job. Well, how the bloody hell are you going to meet anybody? And so with you have to make a change. In financial will change. If you make the change between now and Christmas, it will. I feel that you don't have to necessarily change the skill. Like I was a radio announcer my entire life. That's what I did for a living. That's all I did. And I will guarantee you that if you do it in a different place, a little bit of a change, you can make more money, but not in the situation that you're in now. First thing they said is he's not, because I thought maybe this guy is self-employed. He wants to know whether or not, no, they said he's not self-employed. He works for somebody. I hope that helps you. I can't go into all the details on the air, but if you want to book a private sitting with me, it's very easy to do. And as you can tell, it's a very clear phone line, and I'm 12,000 miles away. So there you go.
Yes. All right. Thank you very much.
And thank you, Lee, for calling.
You're welcome.
All right, Jake.
You sounded like he was from South Carolina. I thought maybe he might have been on Michael Vera's show.
We used to be on Michael Vera's network, not anymore.
Oh, well, you have your own show now, so
exactly.
He's an interesting character, too. He has that video thing where he sits behind the desk. I've never been able to figure out if the desk is real
It is.
or if it's painted.
You should see my show. I have a green goop flowing behind me.
Oh, I don't know. I don't have the computer on at the moment. I don't turn the computer on. I don't usually get up until noon, and
Magic's
I see my
a green
first client
screen,
at
Gary.
1. Oh, green screen. Oh, is that what it is?
Yeah.
I wonder why his hands never rested on the desk. I get it now.
He's got a
I
desk.
asked
It's not that
question.
desk.
Yeah, there's no way you could fake that, right? Oh, all right.
All right, we got 254 area code. Who do we got?
Deborah.
Deborah, thanks for calling in.
Birthday 6/1955.
And what's your question?
My question is, do you see me becoming a grandmother again by my daughter?
She's already got 2 children. Is that not true? Are you there?
My
going away?
stepson does, but I'm wondering about my daughter.
Your stepson has 2
all
children,
right.
but she doesn't. Okay.
I see 2 children. That's what they showed me. I do not see, miracles happen, and I could be wrong, but I don't see any immediate pregnancy around the person that you're making the referral to. But I do feel they showed 2 children, so maybe they're very important to you or they're very dear to you. I don't know. But the answer is not that I can see, but that I'm not perfect. So it could be, pregnancy questions and medical issues are 2 things I'm not that good with. I did get the lady who's going to have the operation and what was wrong with her, but that was very unusual. I usually don't touch those. But no, I don't see it. But well, all right.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you for calling in, Deborah. We're going to get grandmas calling in, or people, moms want to be grandmas calling in, I'm sure, wanting to know.
Oh.
But, for me, it's like it's almost scary for me. Like if I've had some psychic readings done on me, and I've of course I've had mediums and psychics on the show, and I've made friends with them. But it's like when it comes to my future, I don't ever ask that question. I myself never do because it's I don't know, it scares me. It's
I
almost
never
like
ask any questions when I get a reading. I can't read for myself, as I said already.
Right.
And I've had a lot of readings. There's a guy here up in the mountains in Spain. He doesn't do it anymore. He's very nice. I can say his name because we never fell out. His name is Mark Pajerski. He started a healing clinic. I don't know whoever got healed. I said, well, you have to bring people forward and say, I healed that person of cancer, and but I don't know what kind of healing he does. But he used to be a predictive psychic. And I went up there because I wanted to go back to Los Angeles and do this show. I wanted to have this television series. And we taped the pilot and everything. We went to the Sci-Fi Channel and everything, and they wouldn't buy it. So I went up to see Mark, and all I was thinking about in my mind was, am I going to get the show? And he started talking about meeting this woman. Well, that was 7 years ago. I've never met the woman, and I fell off the chair because I kept thinking, well, what is he going to talk about the TV show? He said, you belong in Spain, and that's where you're going to stay. And he said, you meet a woman here, and if she wants to share her wealth with you, I would take it. Well, when she said wealth, I fell off the chair. He said, this woman is extremely wealthy. Her husband died, and he had the company, and it was very, very prosperous. So a year and a half later, I went back for another sitting. And he didn't remember me, but he said, the husband had a company that dealt with oil. And she wears designer clothes, designer shoes. She's very upper class. She's the kind of person that you would like, because I'm old school. And she's got a house in England, a house in Spain, very, very well off financially, and she's going to like you. I thought, why would she like me? I haven't got anything, And he said, it's predestined, and he even gave the description of all the different elements. And he said, but it could be a long wait or it could be a short wait. Well, I'm still waiting. I'm still waiting.
We'll see.
When people come to see me, they don't wear high-heeled spiked shoes. They don't wear stilettos. They don't wear designer dresses. I would like to see someone come to see me in a designer dress. And I would like to see somebody that had a deceased husband that owned an oil company.
Right. It sounds like
it was related to Andrew Carnegie. Carnegie or Rockefeller or Vanderbilt or any of those people. But he said and I happen to live in an area where there's an extreme amount of, the Marbella area is the Santa Barbara of Spain. It's where all the people come over from England to escape the horrid English weather, and they buy homes here on the beach. So there's a lot of money in this particular area, but I have never had any very rich. Oh, I had somebody come from Gibraltar once. It was a guy, and he tipped me €100, which I thought was pretty amazing. But, he wasn't a woman, and he didn't own an oil company, and he wasn't dead. So, 3 strikes and you're out, right?
Well, you're not dead yet either, so who knows? You got time. You might find that woman, that mysterious woman with the deceased oil.
Well, that's what he said. He kept telling me, this is the woman for you, and she's very well off financially. Her husband was a good businessman, and she's still grieving over her husband when she comes to see you. I said, well, I'm interested to meet that woman, because then you know what I would do, don't you? I would retire completely. I would do nothing except play golf and swim in the Mediterranean Sea and play with my dog.
Well, there's your
Have you got any more calls?
Plan.
Let's take some more calls if you've got them. All right, go ahead.
We got 435 area code. Who do we got?
This is Stephanie from Utah, from Ridgefield, Utah.
What's your birthday?
Oh,
Stephanie?
Mormon country, huh? West of the Rockies, too.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, I was just wondering, I think that there's a spirit in my house, and I'm just wondering who it could possibly be, if it's somebody I know, or if it's someone I don't know. And I was also wondering about the house, if we're going to end up being here, or if we're going to end up leaving the house.
Well, tell me what's going on when you say there's a spirit in the house. Do Do you see things appear? Do things move? Is it poltergeist phenomena?
Yes.
Is it a trace case?
So,
it's poltergeist phenomena.
So, there was only one time that we actually had something moved in the house. It happened right in front of me and my boyfriend and my younger sister in my bedroom. We have a Jimi Hendrix painting on the wall, and it kind of just flew off the wall right in front of all three of us, and I just kind of looked at them
that's
both
somebody
and
that
said,
can't
"Did you
stand
guys see
Jimi
that?"
Hendrix right there, I would imagine. That was a joke.
And,
do you
well,
have
and
young
then-
children? Do you have teenage children in the house?
I was
Yeah.
telling my boyfriend
Yeah.
this whole last week, it hasn't just been this last week, it's happened to me multiple times before, but when he's not in the bedroom with me, because sometimes he falls asleep watching TV in the living room in the recliner, and so I'll go to bed, but at the same time, every night when he's not next to me, I see like a mass of something kind of almost hovering over me, over the bed. I don't know how to explain it. It's like
it's not a ghost, it's poltergeist phenomena. It's someone trying to attract attention. When they rip a picture off the wall, that's attracting attention. I was asking you if there's any usually the energy comes from a young person. They draw the energy from the young person. It could be somebody in their 20s or younger. So how old are you?
I'm 32.
You're 32. Do you have young children in the house?
I do. I have 3.
All right. So they're most likely drawing the energy from the young children. It is someone, poltergeists are not evil. Well, let's don't start the Lorraine Warren story, Gary. What you've got is a very interesting case where someone's trying to attract the attention, and they're doing all these pranks. I call them pranks, ripping pictures off the wall, making things move, making things disappear, and they don't know any other way because they can't come through and say it's me. I feel it's someone who lived in the house before. I don't necessarily feel that they died in the house, but they might have done. I don't know. They might have done. What I do feel is that it's not harmful, and if you make some kind of an attempt to get in touch with the spirit of the person, then, but it's not a haunting case. It's not a ghost that's haunting. And it's not a replay. Replays are when you have a etheric replay of something that replays over and over and over again. You don't have that. I tried to tell that to Jason Hawes when I was on his show. He couldn't take it on board. I absolutely feel you've got a poltergeist phenomena, and it could be a very interesting. My suggestion is get a paranormal group, and the ones. I think there's one in Provo. How far are you from Provo?
Probably about like
there?
a 2-hour drive.
Right. You get a paranormal group to come in and set up their equipment, just like Jason used to do on the Ghost Hunter show. Of course, he never brought any mediums with him, so we argued about that. Well, he never did. Did you ever see a medium on Ghost Hunters? It was always
I read
electric.
the book about it too. They as a group, the Taps didn't generally use mediums when they originally started.
Yeah. I was on a show last week. I was on Beyond Reality.
Yeah.
And we had an interesting discussion. Go into it.
We'll get into
anyway,
that.
you've got a poltergeist in your house. And so how you get rid of it is down to you. If you don't want to get rid of it, just live with it. It's not going to harm you. What were you asking me? Are you going to keep the house? I think you probably will keep the house. I don't see.
Yeah, I was wondering if we're going to stay in the house, if it's going to be a long time, because that's kind of what I'm hoping is that we stay here for a long time, but I'm just not sure. If
I
we're
don't
going
see you
to.
leaving the house. I don't see you leaving the house. I don't think it's one of these things like you have to call in a Catholic priest and go through all this bullshit that they recommend, because that's exactly what it is. No human being, no man, can get rid of anything paranormal. That's just crap. If you don't believe me, listen to the tape of the Borley, the guy who investigated Borley. Oh, I can't think of his name anymore. He was a very famous parapsychologist. Anyway, he came through Flint and he talked about, the exorcisms and all that, kind of thing.
Hans
Harry
Holzer?
Price.
Or Eric Price. Okay.
No, Harry Price.
Harry Price.
Do you think it could be somebody that we know? that passed away. I mean, because my boyfriend's father passed away before he was born, and there was a lot of things that happened, you know, to him
Could be.
growing up that almost seems impossible
be.
for him to have survived.
It could be. But my suggestion is that you find yourself a good medium. And when I said a good medium, I mean a good medium. You know, a psychical research organization, a parapsychology organization, a spiritualist church, not somebody off the internet that's going to wave their hands around and go, oh, I get this area sensitive. Oh, that's interesting. Oh, no, not that. You know, the real thing. And it's down to you to find it. You can find it. You might find a spiritualist church, but it's so Mormon infested that I don't think you would in Utah. I doubt it.
Yeah.
Well,
okay,
Well,
that's
probably
about
not
all
in
the
my
time we
area.
have.
Yeah.
We got somebody in the east of the Rockies on the line.
Well, thank you for calling in.
Okay, thank you.
You know, I'm sure you get that too, where people call in sometimes with, or call in, but they call you with paranormal activity happening. Do you get that with your reading sometimes, or it's always loves?
I get a lot of that, and 90% of the time, it is somebody trying to attract attention. But, you know, it's not demonic. It's not going to harm you. No, it's not going to try and kill you. And I mean, you know, we had people in the house in California that would show me it happened while I was living there. They would write that I was going to die in soap on the mirror in the bathroom.
Oh, jeez.
I never died, you know.
But the spirits
It
would
was a
write
very interesting case. It was a case that it was going to be on Unsolved Mysteries, but they didn't want to do it because they didn't want the publicity. And then they had an offer from Sightings. It was going to be on Sightings.
Oh, I loved that show back in the day.
Remember? I'm Tim White. Welcome to Sightings. He went back to his roots in wherever he was from. He never made it in television after that.
And I loved that
So
show.
I feel that, yeah, it was a good show. I actually feel, I have to be honest, that lady has to do some research to find somebody that can come in and tell her what's going on.
Yeah.
There's a lot of energy in that house. There's a lot of things going on.
We get people that have called into the show a lot that live in these kind of houses, and that's the hardest thing is finding the right people. Because I'm a paranormal investigator as well, and I do mainly residential cases, and I'm open and honest with the client. You know, like these things, 99.9% of the time don't hurt you.
No, they don't.
But you know, the activity. If I come in there and start asking questions and start poking and prodding at this, the activity is going to probably pick up. So just so you know, don't because these people freak out about it. It's like a lot all the time I go in it. A lot of times, I mean, I say 70 to 80% of the time, people are like, it's a demon. Like I doubt that. You get that so often.
They've been reading too many books by Lorraine Warren.
Well, Hollywood itself does it. Hollywood itself does it. All right, we got another phone call here. 763 area code. Who do we got?
Brenna.
Sorry, say that again.
Brenna,
thanks for calling in.
Yeah.
We need your birthday.
Oh, 12/23/70.
And you got a
And
question?
your question.
My question is, I am wondering what is going to happen with my boss and my job.
All right, give me a second. Let me see what they'll show me. If you're going to stay, if you're going to go. Okay, I'm going to answer your question in a funny kind of way. As Oscar Wilde was dying in a hotel in France, he looked at the wallpaper and it was so bad. He said, "One of us will have to go." That's exactly what's going to happen. Your audience can now pause 16 seconds to laugh. One of us has to go. It's either you or the boss that has to go. Okay? Does that? I start that way. Does that make sense to you?
Oh, yeah.
It definitely makes sense to you. Okay. Because I feel it hasn't been decided which it's going to be. Is he doing something to you? What's going on? Because one of us has got to go.
She
what
is.
I'm saying.
Yeah, she's been harassing me for 4 years now.
Yeah. So I feel that if you bring the right charges to the right people, Are you a member? I don't know what kind of work you do, but are you a member of a union, please?
Unfortunately, I'm not.
Yeah, that's too bad. I'm a big believer in unions. When I was on the radio, I was AFTRA. That's the American Federation of Television and Radio Artists. I don't see you doing anything unless you can get yourself going and get her fired. If you can get her fired,
Right.
otherwise you go by June.
Right.
One of the two.
I'm working on it.
Someone has to go. Well, that's what they're showing me, that you are working on it, but it would be, if you had a union behind you, she would already be gone.
Right.
Is it just
that's
work
what
harassment?
an attorney
Is it
told me.
sexual harassment? Is she a lesbian? What's going on?
No, it's
Work-related.
work harassment. It's, Yep.
Yeah. Oftentimes when you get that, the easiest thing to do rather than fight is just get another job. I don't see you doing anything until June. That's what they're showing me. June.
That makes
Leave
sense
me
because I'm a
June.
teacher.
Yeah, I see it changes in June. That's when it changes. My timings are really good. Here's another thing that your listening audience might want to know. If a psychic says to you, there's no time in the spirit world, so they don't do timing, the answer should be, well, I don't live in a spirit world. I live in Spain. And that's just bullshit. And it's because they're no good to start with. I mean, this guy has this website, the best psychic directory, okay? It's actually the worst psychic directory. He has a little blurb on there. If you go to a psychic and it doesn't come true, what is the answer to why it didn't come true? And you know what his answer is? It could be you weren't aligned on that right day, or it could be it's not right for you to know at this time, or it could be that the psychic just isn't any bloody good. How about that one?
Well, thank
I
you
think
for
that
calling
man
in.
and I don't like each other very much
Right?
because I called him on the phone one day and told him that he was full of shit.
Well,
that's the answer to your
Thank you
question,
so much
June.
for
Leave
your
me
time.
June.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
All right, you're welcome.
Okay, thank you so much. You too, thanks. Bye.
I would like to state unequivocally that I am just turning 70. I am no longer affiliated with the radio profession in any way. My Social Security check would not even pay my rent, and I earn my living doing psychic readings. So if people think this is just something that I do for a lark, I am serious about what I do. I give quality time. I give quality readings, and, I don't rush people off the phone. If you call me up from anywhere in the world, I always tell you that time is yours, as long as it takes. It's a landline phone, so it doesn't run out of electricity. I do ask if it's possible that you could call me for the reading on a landline phone, because cell phones are not reliable. I actually had a
harder
lady
to get
call
that,
me.
though.
Well, I have two of them. I have one that's Spanish and one that's international. I had a lady call me from a train station in England.
Oh, God.
Can you imagine the noise in the background?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, I remember.
And she'd paid me for the reading in advance. And I said, why would you call someone from a train station?
Because we're on the go, man.
Yeah, but you just don't do that.
People
And
will
I'm
amaze you,
old
Gary.
school. I believe in politeness with people. I really believe that it's important to respect the fact that I've been doing this for half a century. And, just because some other psychic told you X, Y, and Z, the other psychic is probably telling you what you want to hear. More than likely. Like, I knew that woman had to get out of that job one way or the other. As Oscar Wilde said, one of us is going to have to go. And, of course, it was Wilde. He died of an ear infection. He came through Flint and had a very lovely discussion with the two psychical researchers, George Woods and Betty Green. And even though I don't do mediumship anymore, I would ask anybody that wants to get in touch with somebody to at least listen to the Leslee Flint recordings, because they're the best proof we have of
I'm going to
any
go
sort
listen to
of
him
life
after this. You'll
go. Yeah. Go right to YouTube and type in, or go to leslieflint.com.
Well, what was
he was
interested in the spiritualist movements back? I mean, that's in the 1920s, 1930s. That seems to be where a lot of that started with, like the ectoplasm. There was definitely fakery, but there was definitely something going on where people were truly producing something. I mean, it was a whole movement. I didn't even know that people were still doing kind of the ectoplasm thing even into the 60s, though.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Warren Smith, he was a medium the one that I went to was done in a spiritualist church. He's long dead now.
Yeah.
And you can't even find his name in anything. But I mean, you think, but he was definitely real. I mean, there's no way you could fake all these people materializing.
You think anybody's
no way.
ever going to get back into that or bring that back or be able to?
There is a guy in Australia who claims to be able to do it. His name is David Thompson. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Why doesn't he want to be tested by psychical researchers?
Right.
Why doesn't he want to have it filmed? People have come in here and filmed me giving a reading in my house on the beach. And they've actually filmed, brought in people that there's no way I could know anything about them. Nothing. It just come in and sit down and I start telling them as a test. Okay, so have you got more people? Because I really like doing this. I enjoy doing these.
I do. We're going to go. We're going to actually go to our last commercial break. I got people keep calling in. We got somebody on hold right now, so we're going to go to our last commercial break, and we'll continue with the phone calls. But the ectoplasm thing is something that's always fascinated me. I've been, I have a lot of people read a lot of stuff that they say, oh, it was all fakery, but I've never believed that all of it could have been faked. That there had to have been something there. With it, and people think of ectoplasm, they think of Ghostbusters and that, but I've always been fascinated by what could it be? Where is this coming from? Because how does it come out of somebody's? Because the classic.
Well, they were taking some ectoplasm from the sitters in the 1963 seance in Norfolk because I could feel a tugging in my solar plexus. I just felt the pulling in the belly button area. And that's where they draw, and they were telling us that they would draw power from the sitters. How much power they could draw, I don't know. Obviously, most of the ectoplasm came from Warren Smith, because when Dr. Jung materialized, and he was solid, he put his arms around me. He wasn't a ghost.
Right.
And he crumpled up the piece of chewing gum. So, I've told this story to so many people. They don't believe it. I said, it's because you're indoctrinated with all this crap. Psychic medium. In my book, I say, what's a psychic medium? All mediums are psychic. But, I mean, if you're a medium, you're a medium. You don't have to say you're anything more than a medium. You have to say you're a psychic medium. I mean, this is just another New Age hype. It's more hype. We could spend an entire show talking about the creative visualization hype. That, the New Age thing, that if you think of something in a certain way and you say certain visualizations that you can change the future. Well, you show me how you can do it, and I'll believe it. Yeah. Oh, please. We could do a whole show on that. No. It's either all or nothing at all. It's either all predestined or nothing's predestined. It's not a little bit of this, a little bit of that. You have to go to the bottom of the hour. I'm looking at the clock. It is the bottom of the hour.
It is the bottom hour, so we are going to commercial break here. So we'll be back with our guest, Gary Williams. Call in for your reading at 219-230-4444, Skype ID oojblandoo. We have a half an hour left of show, guys. You can call in. Remember, you need your birthday, need a question, and think about it before you call in. All right, guys, we'll be back after this short commercial break.
Don't be alarmed. It's only a laser sword fight. Don't be scared. It's only the Death Star destroying another world. Relax. It's only a movie, and it's all for fun. Director George Lucas and 20th Century Fox present Star Wars. Rated PG. Parental guidance suggested.
We're with you every step of the way.
We sell your dreams.
We're not a soulless, monolithic institution.
We are, but we use nostalgic imagery.
It's walking into your dream home.
You can't really afford it. We'll lend you the money anyway.
It's kids graduating from college.
With pointless degrees riddled with debt.
It's happy picnics on the beach.
There's sewage in the water.
Family portraits with everyone dressed the same.
You look like twats.
Canoeing in the lake.
By the power station.
Catching fireflies in a jar.
And watching them die.
Cheering at high school football games.
The kids are giving each other brain damage.
These are the things our lives are made of.
Interest rates only 33.4%.
Lombank. We're the American bank that truly, more or less, cares.
About profits.
Of the second kind, physical evidence of a UFO. Close encounters of the third kind, contact. From Steven Spielberg, the director of Jaws, comes one of the most ambitious and unusual films ever made. And what you will see has never been seen before. It's a cosmic mystery crossing what many scientists believe will be the next threshold of human experience. It is called Close Encounters of the Third Kind. It begins in an Indiana town and leads to one inescapable conclusion. We are not alone. Close Encounters of the Third Kind. Certificate A. Now showing at the Odeon, Leicester Square.
The Science of Crime is back for another season.
The cigarette was hotboxed. He was nervous about something. His orthopedic surgeon records indicate
that he was a deaf woman who plays guitar. Mermaids, multiple wives, threesomes. This is serious.
They're not detectives or scientists, but they act like they are. They're crime scene cops that take matters into their own hands. These guys are so smart, they never have to look anything up.
he was neurotic, with a love of puppies and experimental cooking.
I knew it. It's a partial lesion caused by light to medium tearing of the thoraxal cortex. Obviously, you can tell at a glance by the fingerprint on the mustard bottle. Andrews, my acting sucks ass.
The Science of Crime. It's forensically boring.
From deep space, the seed is planted. Terror grows.
Invasion of the Body Snatchers. Certificate X. Now showing London Pavilion, Classic Oxford Street.
Heat 'em up. Do, re,
We've been talking with our guest, Gary Williams. He is a psychic. We can still take phone calls in the show. We had somebody on hold and I lost him. You can call back in. The phone lines are open at 219-230-4444 or Skype ID oojblandoo. Just need your name, your birth date, and a question. Call in. Short reading. We got time for a few more calls, so go ahead and call in, guys. I'm really interested. This book is The Foreseeable Future, Mysteries of Precognition. Like I said, this is something that has always perplexed me. Is our future predestined? Are we, if a really good psychic tells you something, is it going to come true? Advance that totally came true. How that works, I don't know. Call in and find out. But let's get back to our guest. Welcome back, Gary. Thank you for hanging in there with us tonight. Early morning for you.
I'm still here. Let's get some people on there that have some really hard questions. I like the hard cases. That's what Dorothy Kilgallen said before they killed her. Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
Well,
You remember her, don't you?
Say the name again.
Dorothy Kilgallen. She used to be on What's My Line, and she was a reporter for the New York Herald American. She went and interviewed Jack Ruby, and 6 weeks later she was dead.
Oh, jeez.
She was going to make a comment. She was like Marilyn Monroe, who said, "I'm going to give a press conference on Monday.
And
Tell them all about Bobby Kennedy and the president." Yeah. I don't think she ever gave the press conference.
No, she didn't.
Anyway,
she didn't make it there. The phone lines are open. We had somebody on hold right before the commercial break. They called in, and I had them on hold, and I lost them. And now we're open, guys. You can call in 219-230-4444. Skype ID oojblandoo. I know I can see tons of people still watching. Don't be afraid, people. Call in, get your psychic reading. One of the things that I've had, like I said, I've had a couple different readings over the years. I paid money for. And just for fun, when I did it back in the day, I remember I had this guy that I was in Florida, did the whole tarot reading for me, and he said all this stuff. None of it came true. None of it was right.
This is it. I mean, most of the people really aren't psychic.
Yeah.
And when it doesn't come true, they blame it on you. I've had them too, because I can't read for myself. The guy I told you about that predicted the woman with the money, he actually has a lot of credibility. He actually had people flying in from Hollywood, actors, and I'll be honest, there may be something. He told me I would write another book, which was A Walk on the Wild Side, and that came out last year. I don't know how he saw the book, but he said, "You will write this book," and he told me what would be in it. I had no interest in writing that book, but I did write it. Now, as far as the woman with the husband with the oil company, I'm open to that.
I bet.
I'm too old for the young at heart romance stuff. I want somebody that we go out and, have €100 dinner. Or actually, that's not very much over here. You can spend 3 times that much on dinner. Yeah, I'm interested in his predictions coming true. But as you said, the tarot card readers, the ones that, that they give the generalities or they give outlandish predictions, they're all over the place. They really, really are. And I don't actually need the tools, as you can see, but if you call for a private one, I will do your birth chart, and I will do the cards, and I will do what I'm doing now. I have people who try to trick me, and they give me fake birth dates. They still get the right information because it's coming psychically. There you go.
I did do that. I have to admit, Gary, I did do that to one person on my honeymoon. I went to we were in Gatlinburg, Tennessee. We're Gatlinburg. And I went to this tarot reader, and I took off my wedding ring. She's like, "I see you getting married soon." I'm like, "Yeah, you're too late." She wasn't happy about that. But she was probably the only one I ever felt that was like really, as a tarot reader, like nailed some things, because she was like, I was going to be a police officer at the time. She's like, "Nope, you're not going to do that. You're not going to do that for a living. I see you getting into something involved in this." I'm like, "In this? What do you mean? In this? Doing something with the paranormal and all that?" That was before I was an investigator or anything like that. So she got it right. But she also did what the other psychic said, I would have 3 kids. Well, I had 2, and I had a vasectomy, so that ain't happening. Knock on wood. But if I were to, if I were to ask you, what would you feeling like? If my one question I didn't have back then, like when I was doing, I was just doing it for fun. Now I'm really interested in knowing, like for myself, my biggest question is like, what does my career hold for me? Because I work retail, and it's a kind of a dicey situation for us in the future here coming with like Amazon and everything. So, if you.
Well, I think you could be borderline psychic. I think you could be borderline paranormal. And I think you could, like one client that I had who went from being an ordinary private investigator where he had a license to just do whatever private investigators do. He became a really lucrative paying paranormal investigator. But you see, in order to do that, you would have to have developed the paranormal skills so that you would be able to go in and psychically sense out whatever's going on. And you'd have to run ads in Fate magazine, and you have to become quite well known or promoted on your show. But you could do the 2 things, and I think you could actually earn a living doing it. But my feeling on that is that you have to put a lot of work into it. Now, I developed my skills over a long period of time, but I had it in the beginning. I think it's there with you in embryo form. But you already have done some investigations, But, I mean, there are people who are doing this kind of thing full-time in England, and they're making a living doing nothing more than just going around and doing ghost investigations or any kind of investigation.
I've never seen myself making a living doing that. Ever.
Huh?
I've never seen myself making a living doing paranormal investigating, ever.
You could if you developed your own abilities. You could.
Well,
You'd have to develop them. People would pay for it. Believe me.
The way I go
thing you
into an
haven't
investigation, I try to like not use my. I mean, I use my senses, but I in a way, I'm going in to get like I want evidence. I want to get a voice on a recorder, or or something on camera, which I still haven't. Nothing that I can't totally write off, and so I go in for evidence. But
I
do
think
have,
you'll do it in the second. I'm getting that you'll do it in the second half of your life, whether you believe it or not. And I always tell people that, I think you'll stick to whatever you do for a day job for quite some time, but you'll never lose the desire to do this. And, eventually, as you get older, you'll realize, like I realized, I didn't want to be in radio anymore. When reel-to-reel tape went out and when vinyl records were replaced by CDs, I said, forget it. I enjoyed, putting the tone arm down and, turning it back 3 times so that you could, when you click the cue, because you don't remember any of that, the big old Bakelite knobs, you go back, but I knew this was what I was meant to be doing. But, if there is any free will, then, you could do this. But, what you're doing now, I think you'll stay with it for an extremely long time. The only thing I would suggest that with the knowledge that you've gained from the show, if you're going to write a book, write it for fun, because you're not going to make any money writing books.
Oh, I have so many people trying to talk me into writing books.
I made a serious mistake of going with this publishing company. They don't give advances. I knew that in the beginning, and I should never have signed. I should have kept going until I got at least a £5,000 advance. You might say that's not very much money, and it isn't. Because there are people who get £100,000 advances for writing a book. But there's no money in writing unless you get an advance. And the good thing about the advance is, it doesn't make any difference whether the book sells or not. You've got the money. I mean, that's the deal. I write books for money. I don't write books for fun. So anyway, you got callers? We've got 20 minutes left.
They've all gotten
you don't
quiet.
have callers.
I got plenty of people watching.
They've all gone away, have they?
Yeah, I got plenty of people watching, but I think they're getting too scared to call in. You guys call in 219-230-4444. Skype ID oojblandoo.
They should be scared to call in. Talk to me.
Well,
I tell
scary.
people when I did the few police cases that I did, and I don't do them anymore because the police have such a negative attitude about it, that if you touch something that belonged to the person and you have the ability, you will get pictures, you'll get feelings, you'll get names, you'll get places. Dorothy Allison would actually get the time that they would find. Well, so did Cressette, as far as that's concerned. As it says in the book, there were 3. There was Cressette, there was Peter Herkos, and there was Dyke Shorn. Dyke Shorn died here just recently. And he could predict things that would happen years and years and years and years later. And he also worked on crime cases and things like that. Very interesting. Some of the most interesting cases and some of the most interesting people who had miracle abilities are dead. It's a shame, isn't it, really?
Yeah. I mean, you think, there's going to be other people that are going to come along and be just as good?
I don't know anybody that could. I took the title of the book, The Miracle Workers, from Jess Stern, when Jess wrote a book about California psychics back in the 60s, and they were very, very good. And then he, had readings from them, and I guess he went around and interviewed them all, and they were all around his area in L.A. I knew Jess from the Casey Foundation because he wrote Edgar Casey, The Sleeping Prophet. I actually spent the night at Jess's house in Malibu.
I actually own
and
that
we
book.
Walked up and down the beach. I still see me walking down the beach with Jess Stern. And I said, what do you think about Jay-Z Knight? Do you think she's real? And he rolled his eyes and says, you got to be kidding. She's the Ramtha person that channels Ramtha, the famous entity from 30,000 years ago and lived in Lemuria or whatever. I've known a lot of very, very, very famous people who were interested in all of this stuff. The actress Susan Strasberg, who was also friends with Marilyn Monroe, was very interested in psychic phenomena and getting readings and, all that kind of thing. And she also was convinced that Marilyn Monroe was murdered
I think
beyond
she
the
was.
shadow of any doubt.
We do got a call, though. 386.
Oh, you have a call at last.
At
All
last.
right.
386 area code. Thank you so much for calling in. Who do we got?
Hi, Jason. Hi, Gary. This is Debbie.
Hi, Debbie.
Hi. My birthday is 12/2/69. And my question is, and my question is, I've been ill for a lot of years, but I've been working on healing, and I was curious to see if you could give me any time frame for when that might be happening.
What's wrong with you?
Well, I have multiple chronic pain disorder diagnoses: fibromyalgia, chronic myofascial pain syndrome, degenerative disc disease. The list goes on.
Yeah.
And I've been
as time goes, they're telling me it gets progressively more serious as time goes by. Correct? Yes.
It has over the years, yes. But recently it
So this is not something that you're going to get a healing in a spiritualist church. That's showing me that. I do have a client who got help, and he also had a similar disease. He had fibromyalgia and some other disease. And I said, the only thing I see that would help you would be the healer John of God. He doesn't charge for healings, but you have to get there. That's the catch. And the problem, of course, is that he lives in Brazil. So he doesn't charge for healings. He's had miracle cures. He's cured people of cancer. He doesn't even touch you. He's not like the Philippine healers, that pulled knives out of your stomach or whatever it was they were doing. It was totally fake. But no, I see that you could get it, but you would have to go. And he's actually become so famous now that people are going for all over the world. If you're looking for,
I've actually heard of him.
Yeah, well, as I said, this client of mine went there and he got completely healed. And I saw in the reading, he came to my house, I saw in the reading that he would get healed. And he had to make the initiative to go there. I don't know where it is, it's somewhere in Brazil. And at the end of the day, he got healed. I don't hold out too much hope for the medical profession on the thing that you've got. But at the end of the day, I could be wrong because things are changing. They're coming up with new things all the time. So that's the only thing I can say for you is that is something that I feel for you would work. Whether or not you would want to do it, I don't know. It costs a lot of money to go to Brazil. I don't even know in what part of Brazil he is in. And, I don't have anything wrong with me, so I suppose if I did, I might be considering going myself. There's very few healers around who are really genuine. Very few real healers.
Learning to do healing, right? I've been learning to do it on myself, and it has improved over the last couple months.
Well, keep going if that works for you.
Yes, I mean I call in the archangels, and I do like Reiki, and I do meditations and visualizations and energy healing, and it has been helping. And I'm the best that I've been in the last 10 years, and the least amount of pain that I've been in, and I'm not on any medications anymore or anything, painkillers or pod or anything like that right now. I'm just taking vitamins
keep going,
and supplements.
No, I say keep going.
Okay.
Yeah. If you're doing it and it's working. But I don't see any medical advancements that you asked me about or give a time frame.
No.
I mean, it's...
right.
Yeah. Getting a time frame on, any of that. I could perhaps on some other illness or something with somebody different, but with you I'm not getting it. But I would definitely believe that the John of God guy is real. He doesn't charge money. It's not his fault he lives in Brazil. I mean,
Right.
What if he lived in Wisconsin? I mean, you wouldn't even be a queue across the state border to get to see him. He's done some miracle things. There's not too many people. And if they charge money for healing, it's wrong. And there are people out there. When I wrote The Miracle Workers, I did interview some healers that charge for healing by the hour. And I said, you go to a spiritual church, it's supposed to be free. And they didn't like me, and I didn't write about them. And I said that they were fraudulent. So I charge for readings. I don't do healings, but if I did healings, I wouldn't charge any money for it. Yeah.
No,
anyway, that's about all I can tell you, really.
Yeah, to me that's like a gift from God that, you're able to help other people to physically feel better. And, if you've got that, and you know that you've got that, you've got healing hands, and that you can channel that energy through you, if you need to make a couple of bucks to feed yourself and pay your bills, that's one thing. But, to charge outrageous amounts of money and charge by the hour and crazy stuff like that, it doesn't sit right with me, I guess. I even if I didn't have a chronic, illness, I know so many other people that need help, and it's just like, what I've learned, I share with others, and freely, and it's a gift, and it's a blessing, and I think that,
well,
that's
it's
what we
it's
should
good
all be
that
doing, sharing
you're
what we learn with one another.
It's good that you're learning it for yourself and that you're able to help, make your situation better.
I mean,
so, well, thank you for calling in.
Exactly. I mean, thank you, Jason. Have a good night, guys.
You too. But yeah, I don't think people should charge
It's
for
amazing
healing.
that people that have these things, that I don't know anybody that's willing to do any healing on themselves, but, the medical profession so far hasn't even come up with a cure for cancer. And
Why would they? It's a $1 billion industry.
That's right. And there you go. As soon as there's a cure, they don't need to treat it anymore.
Exactly.
Yeah, I know how it works.
It's like depending
I
on the
know
oil
how it
companies
works.
that come up with free energy.
Yeah, well, that's right.
All right, we got one more
Yeah.
phone call here. I think we can squeeze in here. A16 area code. Who do we got?
Hi, this is Kim Libby.
Hi, Kim. Thanks for calling in.
Well, thank you. And I have a question to ask your guest, and it's a paranormal question. We live in a home that's haunted, and for some reason I feel like that we may have a grave in our yard. I've always felt that since I moved into this house. And my birth date is 9/10/56.
So do you want to get rid of it, or do you want to keep it?
No, we have several spirits in our home, but I'm just more interested in if you pick up that we have a grave in the yard. Like, I always get a strong feeling. In fact, I can show you the spot in our yard.
I don't feel that you have a grave in what would be your yard. I feel that there was a burial place there before your house was built. And I feel that if you made any changes or any alterations to the house, that's when it began. Or if the house was built, rather than being an old structure, it's just the building on the site itself disturbed or stirred up the energy. Many times in buildings, you don't notice anything until you start changing something, even if you just change some little thing. So I feel that there was a burial area before you moved in. It did, or before the house was even made.
Correct.
They said that, by
That's
the way.
what I feel too.
Yeah, they said there was a
that's
burial
what I feel too.
thing at Amityville. That's what Hans Holzer said, but it's absolutely ridiculous because Hans Holzer wasn't even a real parapsychologist. He was a con artist. Actually, he's dead now, by the way. I mean, nothing happened at Amityville. I'll tell you what happened at Amityville. What happened at Amityville was they got together and they cooked up a great story and they sold a book and a movie. That's how they did it. Okay. Yeah, so that's what you've got. You've got something there that was there before, and that's why you're getting this sort of phenomena. But I would leave it. I would just say it's not harmful. Don't try to make it go away. You don't have to call in paranormal investigators. There's not things flying around the room like with the other lady who lived in Utah. There's not stuff flying around the room. You don't need to worry about it. Or is there?
Well, we have had things flying around the room, and you know, it's not so bad now. It used to be really bad, you know, iron flying across the kitchen, almost hitting me in the head 2 separate times, and flew across.
Well, maybe you also have poltergeists. Yeah, it sounds like you also have poltergeist phenomena. And that's real, you know.
Yes.
Poltergeists are real. You know, that's energy that they're taking from you to make this phenomena happen. You know, when something flies across the room, they're not doing it just for fun. They're trying to call attention to themselves. So, what part of the world do you live in? What part of the country do you live in? Where do you live?
In Missouri.
In Missouri.
I do know that we have coal mines, old coal mines. This house was built in 1920, and a lot of history. You know, we had the orphan train that used to come through here.
Big Civil War.
And a big Civil War area, Civil War battles, and things like that. But we've had
that's a different area altogether. That's along the area of recreations of battles and things that is caught in the atmosphere, and at certain times you get what we call an astral replay. So we got 3 different things going on here. You got the poltergeist, you got the astral replay, and you probably have a ghost that's been disturbed by, you know, if the burial site was there before you came onto the scene. You know, if you're asking me, do we have a grave in our backyard? You know, did somebody bury a body there? You know, the previous owners, I don't think so. I think it was before the house was ever built or before the house ever came into being. But, you know, depending upon what you're trying to do about it, I mean, if you want me to give you a reading, I can do it, and I can tell you what to do or how to do it and all of that, but not in, you know, not in 5 minutes. No. Does it disturb you, or is it something you want to keep? Some people want to keep their ghosts.
Well, we don't have any problem. I mean, I have had, and it wasn't a ghost. It was I've had 2 attacks while I was in bed, and I know what you said about the demonic, but what I saw looked demonic.
Demonic.
So
define demonic.
Okay, the first entity that attacked me literally lifted me up off the bed, and
I had poltergeist phenomenon. To me, demonic means that this is something that we're now into a religious area where demons are in league with the devil, and they're evil things that can be exorcised when somebody comes in and says a bunch of fancy things, which is total bullshit. Being lifted off the bed, not too unusual. I've seen that happen. I've seen that happen with poltergeist phenomena. But if we're going to get into the Lorraine Warren area, I bow out because I don't believe in that. I don't believe that any human being can exorcise a spirit. It's not true.
No.
It can't be done.
No, I don't think so either. But what I'm saying is that it looked visually like you would visualize a demon. Now, the second attack that happened, it was a totally different entity. It had smoother skin. You know, the features weren't defined, and it almost had like it was transparent, but with an inner glow. And it literally landed on top of me, and I hurt for days because it wrapped itself around me. And I hurt for days after that. But, you know, I think we're just trying to figure out, you know, what's going on in our house, in our area. But
sounds like
the grave site out in the yard, I've had that feeling since I bought this house. And another unusual thing about this house, too, is that there's a sign that has the Lord's Prayer, and it's been there since way before I moved into this house, and I've lived here about 25 years now. And I just left it there because I figured someone put it there, I'm going to leave it. And
well, you don't want to
makes
disturb
me
things
wonder
anymore.
Yes, exactly.
Well, thank you so much for
Well,
calling.
I'll tell you
in.
what you do. Send me pictures of everything, and, email me the pictures and everything, or whatever you can do, and I'll see what I can do, okay? But you've got so much going on that it's really hard to see in 5 minutes what's going on, all right? But I would have to go through the whole thing. But in a case like that, I would ask for photographs as well.
Well, thank you for calling in.
Oh, we have photographs.
All right.
Yeah, we've got all that. All right, thank you so much.
Thank you for calling in. And it's the email is Gary at GaryWilliamsParanormal.com. Is that it?
That's it. And the phone for bookings. I'm still earning my living only doing this, by the way. So I think you're the last show. I've got somebody called Kat Hobson in May, and that's the last show. I'm not doing any more shows. So
I'm lucky
you
you
and
got
Kat
me.
are on the same team.
I'm lucky to have gotten you because it's been an interesting night, especially with the phone calls. I love getting to hear how you work a little bit. I know it's only like a snippet of what you do because it's only you only have about 3 to 5 minutes with somebody on there, but it's interesting to see a little bit how you work. Now, if people they can email you, they can call you this phone, the 231-307-5670. They call you, leave you a message, or how does that work?
That's the best way. I'm home most of the time. As if I'm sleeping, they can leave a message. It's a Michigan number. You're only calling Michigan. The email is good. If you email me, it doesn't matter what time. I can always email you back. Readings are an hour to an hour and a half. I take PayPal. I take Wells Fargo Bank. If you live in a town that has a Wells Fargo Bank, I prefer that you walk in and pay me that way. Worst case scenario, you can do a MoneyGram. But and the MoneyGrams are in places like CVS pharmacies and things like that, okay? I do tell people that I'm about 98% accurate, and I'm the only one that if you book something, I don't watch the clock. It's a minimum of an hour. Sometimes it runs much longer than that, depending upon, because I only do one a day. Okay, and this is not my whole life, by the way. I walk on the beach. I have a dog. I grow roses. I play golf. I have a life. Okay, and that's basically it. I'm certainly glad we didn't have anybody calling him to ask me if I believe in the devil or, evil spirits or, I can't even begin to get into that.
The last caller, I felt what she's going through when because I still never quantified it as demonic. I'm like you. I don't just go straight to something's demonic.
I call that doing a Lorraine Warren.
Yeah.
And you can look it up.
Well, I had what they call
doing a Lorraine.
I had a shadow person experience where I was attacked and I was levitated up off my bed and thrown down 3 times.
Possible.
I think there's things out there that are not human, but I don't go to the Judeo-Christian explanation for it. I've seen some weird stuff that I don't think was a human spirit before. So and I've been attacked at night, so I know how she feels. For me, if it's attacking you in bed, I wanted to tell her you need to do something to alleviate that. You don't want that in the middle of the night.
Well,
Demonic
let's see
or
what
not.
the last caller has to ask. That'd be interesting.
Well, that's it, though. We're at the end of the show. Those 3 hours,
We're
hours
at the
went
end
by
of the
fast.
show.
Yep.
Oh, dear.
That's it.
What a pity.
Thank you so much, Gary, for being on the
You're
show.
welcome.
And
anyway, if you want a reading too, I could do you, but at the end of the day, like I said, you're going to do some things in the last part of your life that you're not doing now. Don't ever put down the idea you can earn a living as a psychic investigator.
I put it down many a times. Because you're not the first person that's told me that I should pursue that because of things I've had happen. But I will. You definitely make me think about it, and I would be definitely interested in getting a reading from you, Gary. So thank you so much for being on the show.
Well, thank you for letting me be on your show. Okay, have a good day.
You
Bye-bye.
too. That's it for the show, guys. Next week, we're going to have Anita Intenzo and Chris Levis. We had them on a month or so ago with Bill Bean, and we got a little snippet of their paranormal experience. Remember, they were on A Haunted. They had she inherited a friend's residence that had a bunch of haunted archaeological artifacts. Really interesting story. We had some really interesting pictures. We're going to show more of that, get more into depth of their story. So I'm looking forward to that. Next Sunday, same bat time, same bat channel, 10 p.m. to 1 a.m. Central, 11 p.m. to 2 a.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. to 11 p.m. Pacific time. Don't forget to check us out on YouTube on Paranormal Soup, Jason Bland. Subscribe, follow. Go to Midwest Paranormal Presents, Paranormal Soup. Subscribe and follow there. And also on Patreon. Anything you can do to help us out, $2 a month gets you exclusive content. Check it out. Thanks again, guys. See you next week. Have a great night.